a monster inside of me. You better watch out if your enemy's a road ahead of full prophecy. To be the greatest beast the world has ever seen. I feed him every day like the bones clean. I feed him all the hate and he grows me. And he gets claws real big, gets off quick. And if you cross him, you might drop dead. Metaphorically, of course, settling the score. Never getting bored, loves of blood and gold. Always wanting more freedom from the source. They don't really listen until they feel the force of heart in. If you start shit, you be heartless in the darkness. Torn apart quick, you left scars ripped. You be chewed up and discarded.
And this world ain't right, won't accept it. Negative energy, I expect it. Once it's in your mind, it's infectious. So fight for your life and reject it. You better give me space, I'm protective. My adrenaline spikes when I'm threatened. And if you stay in my way, I'm aggressive. Cause when there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. When there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. Negative energy, I expect it. Once it's in your mind, it's infectious. So fight for your life and reject it. You better give me space, I'm protective. My adrenaline spikes when I'm threatened. And if you stay in my way, I'm aggressive. Cause when there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. When there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate.
I work blind, got vision I don't need to see. I'm picking mind over matter, I believe in me. I need to find more hours in the day to breathe. Need to find more power in the way I be. And when my mind turns sour with the painful scenes, I
Hello and welcome to My Mind Over Your Matter. My name is Rick, and let's get the show started because we got a good little lineup. I started early because I need to get off here early because I need to go to sleep a little early today. I know my phone's all excited, but I definitely got to get off here more earlier than usual. I try to keep my show under 2 hours. We'll see how well we do with this. Without further ado, let's just get right to the news because we got a lot to cover. Here we go.
Let's bring back in Morgan Wright, CEO and founder of the National Center for Open and Unsolved Cases. So again, I said this to Jonathan Hunt just a few minutes ago. This morning, this case appeared to kind of be almost, for lack of a better descriptor, stalled. Now it's moving ahead quite quickly. How do you see the momentum gaining in this case now that this information is out there, Morgan?
Yeah, we've gone from 0 to 100, in about a second. So this would have won, any most drag race out there. So, and it's good. The other thing, though, too, it's good because it gets the public back engaged again into this, and it raises the awareness, right? As you know, too, in the news cycle, once you get to a point where you're repeating the same thing, people lose interest. But now that we've got something new, they can now focus their attention. And the other thing, too, is there may be people that weren't following this or may have dropped off that now with this new piece of information will be able to make a link between, oh, I saw this and I get this. And I remember seeing this guy or somebody who looks like this guy. Will there be a lot of sightings that may not be totally accurate? Yes. But as a detective, I would take some sightings and not so good sightings over no sightings and no tips and no leads. So this is good. This should, I think you would see also a huge influx of tips. And that's the other reason the FBI is so geared up for this with their crisis response team and their rapid response teams, their ability to bring in the infrastructure. This is not just an investigation. This is an infrastructure problem. It's like the military. It's about logistics. So they're bringing in the infrastructure to be able to handle this flood of information because when this information comes in, John and Sandra, the first thing you got to do is you've got to get on it right away. Leads have time value. So the faster that we can get into it right now, if we know it, guess what? The person who did this knows this too. So they may be taking actions to cover their tracks, to get rid of evidence, to do things. And so that's the other reason why time is so critical in this is that if we know it, chances are he knows it or one of his partners knows it, and they're going to be taking steps to mitigate their risk. So, and this is huge. And the other thing they'll be doing too, like I said, I know we've said this, but it's all of the other data, the forensic analysis of the shoes and the pants and the shirt and the backpack and the ski mask and looking for who made all of those things. They may not release that to the public, but
he looks very foreign. He doesn't look American.
Standpoint, who this person is, where those things might originate from. That backpack may be so unique.
I don't know if I was a guest, if I was a betting man.
That really narrows it down. So we're waiting to hear some of that very. Well, they won't release it to us right now, but as they get it, they might say, "Hey, look, now we have investigative interest in a place in Albuquerque, or someplace in Phoenix, as opposed
especially
to
on the desert."
This is going to be a huge help to not only generating interest, but putting it on target. Right? We can precisely target the areas that we have an interest in.
Okay, so just Morgan adding to our reporting right now is new reporting from NBC. This was just uploaded to their live coverage. We know and knew NBC is reporting that the Guthrie family says that they do not recognize the subject in these images. What we do know is here, NBC is reporting that the lack of recognition affected the FBI's decision to release the images and video.
They needed to do this like a week ago.
They said, quote, Guthrie family does not recognize the person in the surveillance image. The Guthrie family was notified about the images shared by the FBI, but there was
all the evidence that they have, you get it like super late.
Recognizes in terms of who this person might be. And because of that, because there was lack of recognition, the FBI chose to post the images that we're now seeing and videos publicly in the hopes that someone out there may recognize this individual or the clothing or the items that are seen, which could lead to a break in the case. Obviously, that is what we're hoping for right now, Morgan, with the FBI tip line and the sheriff tip line on the screen. They are, as we just heard from the White House as well, urging anyone who even thinks just even this could be somebody they met once in their life. They are looking for any lead to this person, Morgan, and we hope that they're getting those leads right now.
Yeah, very interesting point about that too. I'm watching a little bit of video. Why is the guy putting vegetation over the camera? It starts giving you an idea if he's going to go in that way and come out that way. And the other thing, to your point too, about not recognizing this why this goes back to, was this pre-planned? Was this somebody that the family knew? And we're obviously starting to narrow in on that. I would go, one of the biggest things is going to be is it would be highly coincidental that this is the first house that this person hit that night. And how did they get there? What was the mode of travel? Did they park somewhere and walk a great distance to, to cloak their movements? So where this vehicle is parked, how they got there, and was this going to be the first of many houses being hit? And then it goes back to why this house. And I don't want to say that it's less and less likely that it was targeted. I mean, I know some of the folks, the other guests, have their opinions. I look at this and I go, if it was targeted and that's really what I wanted to do, I wouldn't waste 20 minutes out front. I'd be in. I would have had a way in. I'd acquire my target, and I'd be out. I mean, you don't want to spend too much time.
Yeah, but not a lot of people think that fast.
This, as you look at it too, working with the officers out there and the detectives and the
these
deputies who
people
work
are
auto burglaries,
stupid.
You look
so they're
at
going to
people,
do
how do they
stupid things
dress?
and make
This is
mistakes
very
along the
similar to
way,
how
like this
somebody
guy's
dresses
doing
when
right
they're gonna
now.
do a lot of thefts or burglaries in one night. You be dressed, you be efficient. You got a backpack to store your loot in, and you hit target after target because you want to get out of there. You don't want to be carrying big sacks or big bags, because that's very noticeable. A backpack, while it's something you could observe, it's not as noticeable as carrying a big laundry bag or a big,
Yeah, my thing is like, why did it take a whole week
to me,
to
when
release
he
this information?
turns around, bends over, the backpack doesn't flex, so it seems like it's already full. But I mean, it just may be that it's a stiff backpack. I don't know. But see, he bends over there, it doesn't seem to collapse at all. It looks like it's already packed full of whatever. So let me ask
it looks
you
like there's some weight to it too.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at it, to your point, it looks like there's some weight. It's not like floating around like an empty backpack would be. So
yeah,
goes back to my question. Did he hit something else? Was there something else hit that he'd already stolen from previously before hitting Nancy's house?
Yeah, well, I guess the police would know if there's a robbery somewhere else in the area. Let me come back to your expertise in cybersecurity. So the FBI gleaned these images off of the Nest doorbell camera. It's our understanding that there were other cameras in the house that were, I would imagine, linked together, because Nest cameras linked together on an app called
Yeah, so
Google
where's
Home.
the other images?
And even though she didn't have a subscription, do you believe that the FBI is now looking into the back channels of those cameras to see if they can glean some images from them?
Yeah, and it's interesting what Kash Patel said. It was obtained from back-end systems. So to me, back-end systems mean, if you think about Siri, Google, Alexa, there were lawsuits about them storing your audio without permission or not giving you enough because of privacy. So
they have the
who collects more
information.
information than anybody in the world?
If
It's
you
gonna
have
be Google.
cameras,
So I would
recording
imagine is that
everything without
this
subscription.
30-second buffer, I would think it's probably about a 30-second
with
buffer
or
is what
without
it looks like,
subscription.
is that it's continuously running. And so when something triggers, it's sent to their back-end systems to, even without a subscription, it's stored. Why? Because they're looking at it from an analytics standpoint, an AI standpoint, a service efficiency standpoint. So that information is probably being collected on a regular basis, just like if you've got Siri in your home or Alexa, it's constantly listening and then triggering off of that trigger, because then like in police cars, when you have body worn cameras or you have in-car cameras, there's a buffer so that the minute you turn on your lights or you turn on your siren or something happens, you're not just getting that instant, you've got the pre-roll, the pre-event video that goes with it. So that's what this could be, is that if something were to trigger and she had a cloud storage account, it would trigger and give you that pre-event information. Well, why did this thing trigger? And then store it in the cloud. In this case, I think probably there's a lot of luck involved in this too, because if it's only storing this transactionally, there's a very good chance is that this information may have been overwritten on a main system and they had to go to a backup system, things that they use for disaster recovery. And then the other thing too, John, I haven't heard talked about, many times like this, companies just don't hand you over the information. Even in a high profile case, you still need some sort of legal process. So I'm wondering if a search warrant was involved in this as well, once they understood how this worked. And then it seems like a lot of the work may have been done on the back end by Google and Nest people if it's recovering it from their systems.
Morgan, we're reminding our viewers of the photo that we have from the investigation on the doorstep, the splattered blood. Obviously, there are people who have looked at it that a lot of different ways. to determine whether or not that was a person that was suffering from a significant wound or not. But just a reminder of some of the pictures we do have from that front door. What is your thought now that you've seen these new pictures and videos and you go back to that? Can you determine anything else?
Yeah, when you're looking at the
What a
step, you
crazy
can see
picture,
glass,
right?
or not glass, but you see the
See
vegetation
if I can
that
make it
was used.
bigger.
It was dropped there, right? And then the blood is coming out. You see the blood off to the side of the door, which means, it seems to me is that that's the direction she was initially taken, then brought back towards the center. And I think it was, I mentioned this earlier, Ellen O'Toole was on. I'm not a blood spatter expert, but again, this is low velocity. So it means she was closer to the ground. So the question is, was she already incapacitated or attacked in the house? Why did that happen? What events happened inside the house? When in the cases that I've worked in, I know
Very
some of the
freaked
other
out
law
when he
enforcement
went and
people out there
attacked
work
her.
a lot of these cases. Sometimes when you get a confrontation in the house, the criminal runs because they don't want that confrontation. They don't want to be caught. The question is, what preceded this? And that's where hopefully there's more cameras inside the house to understand why did he engage Nancy? What was the context behind doing that? And then why would they want to extract her from the home? That just creates risk. It's like if you think carrying a rucksack would get attention, carrying a body to a vehicle or getting stopped by law enforcement with the body in the vehicle, it's going to generate a lot of attention. So this is a unique case, even with the now I think it's a scam, the ransom extortion. Very unique. There's no playbook for this.
Hey,
Why
Terry,
somebody,
what's up,
the
man? How
biggest
you
question
doing?
they have to understand from this
I
is
know
why
the
would
early starts
this
today.
criminal confront Nancy in the first
I
place,
gotta get
not
off of
leave,
here
and
early.
then leave. And it goes back to maybe the family did not recognize this person, but my question was, did Nancy?
That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, difficult to recognize with that ski mask on, but there should be audio along with this as well,
Yep.
which is
There should be
it's
audio.
unusual that we just had the video and not the audio, unless the archive system for these small clips does not include the audio. But
They
those
do
cameras all have
include audio.
microphones on them, so I wonder if there's audio out there somewhere. So,
All right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of data is going to help. Like this data is going to help crack this case.
Morgan, thank you very much for
Thanks,
sharing
Morgan.
your expertise on this.
Hey, Sean Hannity
All
here.
right.
Hey,
It doesn't take them a whole fucking week to get all this stuff. Like I would understand maybe 2 days, but with all the technology and all the stuff that we have, when we're so far up in the future, things work very instantly with AI. But yet it took the FBI how many days? Now it's going on its second week. We're in week two. Look, I know it blends in back here, but 2 weeks, and we're just getting a video with some pictures, but yet no audio, no videos from the inside cameras. This proves to you, this right here just proves to you that any camera you have inside your home and you think that it's not connected, guess what? It is, and it's recording you. It's taking any sound, any video. It's constantly listening and watching. Even if you do, and even if you don't have a subscription. Because apparently Nancy did not have a subscription. So if she did not have a subscription, why was her cameras working? Why were the cameras working? Why if that camera was working, why the other cameras we haven't seen any of the footage of those cameras? And I think there was one out in the back too. So there's a lot of information that they're just holding back because I don't know why. If they came and find her, it's been 2 weeks. Get the public involved. The public is undefeated. The internet is undefeated when it comes to solving crimes. Undefeated. Like, you just give it to the AI, give it to us, the people, and we'll figure this shit out. And we'll find out who this motherfucker is. It's not hard, man. But the FBI, they like, especially Patel, he just wants to get this big break so that he can be glorified and put in a pedestal. He's like, yes, I did it. Look at me. I did it. I did it, Mr. Trump. Look, it's the FBI. We did it. You held back information for almost 2 weeks now. 2 weeks. Because you guys knew she had these cameras. Automatically, you guys got in touch with these cameras. I'm sure those videos were pulled up immediately. And yet, you guys held back for 2 weeks. And we're here like, okay, I'm going to analyze the FBI right now. And so far, you guys got an F. Like, how much improvement can you get from an F? Because you're a fucking like, you guys are fucking stupid. I don't know, I don't understand the FBI. I feel like they do this on purpose. They do this on purpose because they've been around for a very long time. All these alphabet gangs, and you know who I'm talking about. They all been around for a very long time. But why so much secrecy? And then how come you don't get the public involved to help find this individual? There's a lot of us, then there is a lot of you. I just don't like. Sometimes I just don't get it. But they want to develop cameras that can find your bitch that runs away from your house. Like they had a commercial in the Super Bowl where they had cameras. Well, you have to pay a subscription to, but they'll find your bitch running around. But then they can't find Nancy that's just been kidnapped. But they're going to have the capability to find your bitch and send everybody a message. Your bitch is missing. Here, I found your bitch. Your bitch is over here. Come get her. I don't get it. I just don't fucking get it. Every time I wake up every day, there's a new day. And I'm like, this is what they're throwing at me today. This is what they want me to do today, like to review this, because like I feel like they do this to punk people. Like we're all being punked, and the FBI is the biggest clown show on earth. It's like, man, they need to do a lot more better, and not only that, but even the local police, like the local police that's another story. That's another clown show story. I mean, if they cannot protect this senior at her home, and the police can't really do shit, then how safe are you? Then and then the question is, then why do we have police? It's like, why we just all become a neighborhood crime watch, and if something happens, everybody gets involved. I bet we solve crimes more faster. I bet you shit won't hit the fan. I don't know, man. We're living in like, I'm serious. We're in the upside down. Something happened. I don't know if it's something with CERN or something happened that it just fucked up our like alternate universe, and we're just fucking floating in shit. I don't know. It's like, and this is like every day. Like, you go back and watch all my shows. Like, I've been doing this for a very long time. And I just started recently getting into this media shit, and paying attention more to what's going on. And holy shit, this world is just, I don't get it, man. And the fact that we have AI, because AI is already activated, and AI can help fight a lot of these crimes, and yet they don't implement it. They probably do, but it's like bare minimum. And I just think that if they could get the people more involved, because who knows where this lady's at by now? Think about, remember the case over in California with the baby, the one with the little boy, the one that the parents, I guess, throw him out into the desert, and I'm pretty sure the coyotes out there got him and ate him up. So you're never gonna find that body. But this lady, she could be in a shallow grave. She could be dead. For they don't know. And then this is going to be the future, because they're going to want to do this, right? They in the future, that's why they want to chip people. There's the reason why they want to trip people. You know, it's like for cases like this and stuff, it's gonna get to people's heartstrings, and I guarantee you, by 2030, they're gonna want to chip everyone. So that way, they're gonna say, "Listen, you could pay for all your stuff with your swipe of your hand. You could show your even your ID with a swipe of your hand at the TSA." They're gonna say, "Oh, we could find you even if you get lost because it has a GPS tracker that will pinpoint in every direction and every step that you take. We will know which way you went just by that little chip inside of you." That's what they want to do. We already carry a chip every day. You don't think we carry a chip every day? What the fuck is this? Oh, it's our cell phones. And guess what? It's attached to our hips every fucking day. It's everywhere we go. We take this, and they know where we're at all times. That all they want to do is stop it from being this big to being something very tiny that goes under your skin into your little hand in here, and then you could just go beep beep and buy whatever you want. Oh my god, using your phone. Oh my god, I love these shoes. Beep. 2 days later, maybe a day later, your shoes is like outside. This future is scary. It's scary. 2030 is coming so fast, and they really want to tap into our systems like any which way and how. Especially when they're going after neural, like our brain, our neural, like Neuralink. Um, that they want to put this thing in your head and pretty much control your thoughts, control. It's also what it is about. It's about control and to program you and to doing more for what they want you to do. You won't be free minded anymore because they already seen how society is when they're free, and now they want to take that back, and now they don't want to censor more and take back more of your freedoms. That's the game. That's what's going on in the world. If you're not paying attention, that's okay. That's why you're here to watch and listen. And for those who rewatch, thank you. I appreciate it so much. But we do got more to watch. We got some. Let's see what we got here. Let's set this up. Give me 1 sec. But how's everyone doing today? Let me see who's in the chat. We got Terry. What's it? Albie. What's up, Albie? How you doing? Those GoPro cameras have full audio. Yeah, they're supposed to have fucking full audio. It doesn't make any sense. It just it doesn't make any sense. And they have more than one camera. I think there's like 4 or 5 cameras. Okay. And supposedly, she didn't have a subscription. She didn't have a subscription. So how is a camera recording if it does not have a subscription? So that means any camera should be recording if you don't even have the, let's say, the device on. It's still recording. Let's say the camera right here that's recording me, once I turn it off, it's off. But is it truly off? Because it could be listening to everything that is happening here. Even though the little camera goes downwards, it doesn't mean the volume turns off. See, it zooms in. Little fucker. I'm calling you little fucker. I don't AI, you got to be careful with AI because AI can be helpful and AI can be very dangerous. And this is a very big. No wonder the FBI was holding it out for so long, and they didn't want to leave. Like they let it go finally, but it kind of let the cat out of the bag. Like that cat went meow, and that pussy went crazy. Meow. And now it comes the question: are they recording us from any device? Is your camera recording, even if you have it off? Is it still recording and listening? because we just saw a video of a doorbell that the person doesn't even have a subscription. So how do they have a video if there's no subscription? It's crazy. We're living in fucking crazy times. Get off their damn high horse. I love horses, by the way. I really do. I love horses. And they need to do their they need to do their damn jobs. That's for damn sure. You're going back to the whole camera shit. And we know NSA are still around. Oh yeah, they're still around. NSA, oh yeah. They don't talk about them, but they're still around. They're watching everything, man. Everything. Listen, your television has a microphone that listens to you. You have Wi-Fi, so the Wi-Fi can pick up on your feed. If you have your phone nearby, they know if you're there, because the Wi-Fi itself is going to be able to pick up on just your body, and they'll know if you're here. You know, it's gonna know your whole everything. It doesn't need a camera. It can pick up on just pulses of. It's a frequency that they'll shoot out, and it'll diagram your body and diagram everything that's in your place. The future is so fucking crazy. I'm just telling you, I'm just psychic. I'm just a psychic. I just see things. I say it. It happens. Get confirmations down the line. Like, I've been getting a lot of confirmations this year from a lot of things that I said from back in the days. It's just all coming true now. So, you know, it is what it is. But I see a lot of things. And it's so fast, too. And it's so fast. And I don't think people are ready. Like, this case, people need to pay attention a lot more, because they're releasing, like, they're releasing the cat out of the bag. All right, let's go ahead and give me 1 second. Let's see. We are going to see. Ooh, I think this is probably the first time I'm gonna show him on this. Professor Nez. Like, I've been subscribed to him forever. So let's go ahead and set this up here, and let's watch.
Okay, with the help of AI, the internet has just been absolutely blazing on this case. If you missed my video earlier, brand new suspect, video footage. Right now, what you're about to see is another brand new piece of video footage that FBI Director Kash Patel just released moments ago. My earlier video will be in the pinned comment and in the show notes and description down below. If you missed it, I go in great detail on the photos and stuff, but I have a theory, y'all. And I'm not going to make any allegations. I'm not saying it's factual. In full transparency, I always do my due diligence. I always do qualitative and quantitative research. And this is just my own theory based on everything, especially this video and what I'm going to share with you. It's hard to even breathe right now. This is insanity, but I think this is really close. So check this out. Here is brand new eerie footage of the suspect walking up. I want you to notice the gait there. When I say gait, the way they're walking, they're slouched, head down, demeanor, posture. Now, one thing that is absolutely tantamount to this case,
but he had like a flashlight.
Is the fact that the last person who was known to see Nancy Guthrie alive was the son-in-law, Tommaso. It was earlier reported that Nancy was supposed to be going to some kind of church, right? That she was scheduled to attend an in-person church service. But what really happened is that Nancy regularly gathered with a small group of friends to watch a New York-based church service via live stream ever since, 2020 and the pandemic. The group would meet at one of the friends' homes and watch the service live from Savannah Guthrie's church in New York. So she did not arrive at her friend's house as expected to watch that live stream. And that's when the friend contacted Annie, Nancy's daughter, and Savannah Guthrie's sister, to report that Nancy had not shown up. The source emphasized that Nancy was expected to be at her friend's home that morning, not at a
Ooh.
Tucson church, and said the circumstances surrounding her absence have been inaccurately described in some coverage. Okay.
Wow.
AI and the internet have been doing some number trying to find out who this
He's Mexican.
curated eyebrow, thick eyelash individual was. At first, in my earlier video, I thought maybe it was a woman. Now I'm kind of second guessing that after doing some new digging
Yeah, it's not a woman.
and research. And I want you to notice something about
It's a guy.
this photo right here. The way this dude is standing and their gait, and why Tommaso is now somebody who really, really rings true as someone who could be in that mask right there. Could be that person, that individual that the Nest camera caught that FBI Patel released. So you'll notice this close-up right here. There's facial hair in the mask. You can see in the middle
beard.
bottom of your screen,
Probably
indicating that this individual had a pretty good amount of facial hair, whether a mustache, beard, or both. There's a quick kind of side-by-side of Tommaso, the son-in-law, and the masked
the
suspect
eyebrows
right
don't
there.
match.
Okay, this is where AI has come in right
The
here.
eyebrows
What you
don't
see
match.
on the screen
I
right
don't
here
think it's
is
the Tommaso
AI
guy.
putting a mask on Dominic Aaron Lee Evans. Dominic Aaron Lee Evans is a longtime friend and former bandmate of Tommaso Cioni, Annie Guthrie's
He looks
husband,
more closer.
Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law. That is very eerily similar, because if you look at the facial hair on the chin there, you look at the eyes and the eyebrows, that is eerie.
Yeah, they have full audio.
Extremely eerie, because
And
you know,
that's
if
one
you see
they
this
do.
image right here of the suspect in the video that was released and this Evans character,
man.
you start to notice some very eerie similarities. Also, this photo that I put on the thumbnail. So we asked Grok AI to take the mask off, and that is what AI come up with. And it is really, really accurate
Yeah, but he has
as far as
speech
what
here.
the individual may look like. Again, AI technology is so advanced now. It's absolutely out of this world. It's doing all sorts of things in many, many different fields and many, many different industries. I have an AI assistant that helps me with my work and research. I mean, this is a really powerful side by side. I can't wait to get your comments on this, but let's get back to Evans. So Dominic is a Tucson musician and founding drummer of the indie post-punk band Early Black, formed in 2007 with, guess who?
I gotta see
Tommaso,
the side
son-in-law,
picture, the side
who's on bass, who played bass and vocals, and another individual by the name of Walter Gonclaves Jr., who played guitar and did vocals. The band was active for years, and sources say Dominic and Tommaso remain good friends to this day. Now check this insane evidence
Yeah, but
out.
they could
Public
clear him
records
out
in
quick.
Pima County, Tucson show Dominic has a criminal history, including
Robbery,
arrests
theft,
for
embezzlement.
felony, burglary, robbery, embezzlement, and DUI. Now with the
Wow.
new Nest doorbell photo showing a masked intruder who many say bears a striking resemblance to Dominic. If you look at the eyes, eyebrows,
They can
and
go and pick
goatee
him
in that
up.
previous image I just showed you, and his close friendship with the son-in-law giving potential access knowledge of the home. Is this just a coincidence? Or could this be an actual connection to Nancy's disappearance? I can't wait to get your thoughts on this one. Okay, before I show you Nancy Guthrie's post, I want you to look at the gait here. I want you to look at the way this individual is standing. And then I'm going to go back to the family photo. Okay, maybe this is reaching, but I want you to look at this. There is Tommaso right next to Nancy Guthrie in this family photo. The kids are blurred out for a good reason. But I want you to notice something about the way he's standing. Look at the way that he's standing. Look at his shoulders. Look at the way that he's kind of
I don't
hunched
think
over.
it's him because his
I
eyebrows
don't
are
know.
so
Call
fucking
me
thick.
crazy, but is there some kind of, and why is he
Nah, his beard is too
specifically
thick,
standing
too.
next to Nancy? Does that indicate something about their relationship, the closeness of it, the engagement of it, the I don't know what of it? But there's
Yeah, but he's
something
not the one who
about the
did-
way that he's
who did it.
standing, the way that his body is framed. There's also been a
I mean,
lot
just
of
standing sideways.
people dissecting the height and build,
Like,
and it
that's not a big
matches
deal.
Tommaso's. Let's go back to that photo. Look at the way he's leaning.
No,
Look at
that's
the
not.
stature.
Nah.
Look at there's
Nice
almost a
try.
sort
No,
of uncertainty
no, that's
in
not
his
him.
gait. And by the way, the way that he got the
No, that's
vegetation
not
and the
him.
plants to block the camera. I mean, this has got
Professor Ness
amateur
is funny.
hour all over it. I think people have maybe
He can't
perhaps again, I'm
jump
not
to
this
conclusion
isn't
like
definitive,
that. Like,
obviously.
I
This
can
is just
fucking
my
picture
very
that out.
own.
That's not
I want to be
him.
very clear. I'm not implicating anybody.
It's
I'm
not
not
him.
saying for sure
That's somebody
with
else.
any, I mean, molecule of certainty that it is Tommaso, but this is just a hunch again. And I always trust my
Tommaso.
instincts and my intuition and my hunches. And I wouldn't be shocked if maybe even Tommaso broke down. I think this was such a
Yeah, you see the shoulders is
freaking
narrow.
Walmart
Right, Terry? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
amateur
Like,
hour
I don't think it's
ransom note, burglary, robbery, abduction, kidnapping, straight out of a really
He looks very
bad
foreign.
movie, B
To
movie,
me,
not
he
even
looks
an A
foreign.
movie,
I
not
don't
even a
know.
C movie, maybe
He's
a
not
D
American,
movie
I don't think.
plot. That I wouldn't be surprised if this guy just broke down and confessed. You think? Do you see any resemblance there at all? Okay, here's Savannah Guthrie
Why
just
did you
posted
make the
this
video so fast?
on her Instagram with the photo that was released by Kash Patel saying, "We
Wait,
believe
Professor Ness,
she is still alive."
Wait. We can't do that, Professor Ness. You can't show us a picture and then just like quick take it off. So let me see if I could.
You think? Do you see any?
Okay, I had to pause it. No. Just even with this eye right here alone, because you see he has like the droopy eye. You know, the droopy eye, like this right here. This is droopy. This is like, you see how the skin. I have like this. This is how I have my eyes, like this. So no. No. And then his eyebrows is very thick. You see, he got like very fucking thick. Like it looks like a boomerang. It kind of looked like the Nike swoosh a little bit, but more like a boomerang. Especially this one over here. It looked like a fucking B2 bomber. But it is what it is. This guy looks very like foreign also. Like he has a like thick mustache, but this mustache does not look like this. This motherfucker has it like sideways like this, and it's short. It doesn't look like bushy. It's like short. And there's other pictures. Hopefully we'll get to see some more. But no, even the lips, like even the nose, you could tell this is not him. This is not him. This is somebody else. This is definitely somebody else, because you can see how like open here is the eye. Like you can see like the pupil, like, and then like the eyebrows is just more up higher, and you see how his is more like this. It has like droopy. This like the droopy eye. It's like it's a kind of like a little mass, you know, in the eyes. I have it. So I can see it on both eyes, but he has it a little bit more pronounced on the left eye. This one doesn't. This one is just like wide, like eyes wide open, and all right, let's keep it moving. It's just I had to stop it because Professor Nez, like all due respect, this is not nowhere close, okay? And who is really this guy, and what was he up to? This is very disturbing. This is it going to be a good outcome? I don't think so. You know, I feel like she has been really traumatized to a point. I don't think she's even with us. I don't know. I mean, because who will hold her like that, knowing that she's that old, she's on medication, and she has a like a a pacemaker. So it's like a fucking sick, disabled, like pretty much not disabled, but like she has a fucking heart like issues. She has a pacemaker, and all this. It will kill anyone. That fear will kill anyone. But let's keep it moving. Let's listen into the last few minutes here.
Resemblance there at all. Okay, here's Savannah Guthrie just posted this on her Instagram with the photo that was released by Kash Patel saying, "We believe she is still alive. Bring her home. Anyone with information, please contact 1-800-CALL-FBI. That's 1-800-225-5324 or the Pima County Sheriff's Department. 520-351-4900. I think it's only a matter of time before we find out who
Man,
this
it would be nice
individual
if they
was. And
find
again, I
her.
wouldn't
You
be
know what I
shocked
mean?
if it was a
But
family
man,
member, specifically
she'd
this
be
guy
dead.
right here. I just would not be surprised.
It's
Again,
not
there's another
him.
angle of the way that he's
Maybe
standing,
he may be in a
the kind of
role in it.
composition of his frame, his chest, the
Maybe,
silhouette of the head,
but I
the
don't
eyebrows,
see it.
maybe,
Come
and
on,
the
Professor Nash,
mustache. I don't know,
man.
though his mustache looks a lot
Don't
grayer there.
don't shoot
I
yourself in
don't
the
know.
foot,
Call me
dude.
crazy. I think there's something to this. The president of
This
the United
guy,
States,
the other guy
President
looks
Trump,
younger. This guy looks
said
like he's in his
recently in a
40s, like
post
late 40s,
that
probably
he
50s.
encourages any American across the country
You know
with
what I
any
mean?
knowledge of this suspect to call the FBI.
It
He says the
doesn't.
prayers of the entire White House
I don't know.
are
I don't
with
jump to
the
his.
Guthrie family. What do you guys think? Did I go too far? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. As this
Yeah,
story develops,
you can barely see
your
his
boy
upper lip
Nez
under his
is going to
mustache.
keep you
Yeah,
in the loop and give you the latest scoop.
it
So
doesn't
make sure you tap the thumbs up if you love America, because we're trying to make common sense go viral. Subscribe and follow.
But it's good to listen to other perspectives of this case, because this case it's so fucking unique. You know what I mean? And I feel like there's more to it. You know, and you gotta understand that what's the outcome of this, right? What could be the best outcome? She's alive, right? And she comes back and she's like reunited with the family, and they'll end up having to get rid of that home and move her in somewhere else because she'll be traumatized. And yeah, and okay, great, right? But then what could be the worst case scenario? They don't get in contact with her same way like the little boy from California, that he was just thrown out in the desert, and the coyotes and the foxes and the wolves um, really ate the baby pretty much. Um, you know, would they knock this person and just like leave him out in the desert? That's Arizona. You know, Arizona, I don't I've been out there before. I don't trust it. I don't trust it. You know, you don't know who's there. You don't know, like, there's a lot of immigrants, you know, and it's just it's not a place where I would live. And it's hot in the fucking summer. I don't understand how people could live there at 115, 120 degrees during the day. Like, and it's straight up like it's like a furnace. Like you're just fucking in there being baked, slow baked at a low temperature. Well, really, 120 is, you know, for baking, it is kind of low. But I'm just saying that motherfucker out there, being out there in that heat, and this is that dry heat. I remember my days of training there in Arizona. I did not like it. I did not like the snakes. I did not like anything as far as like the heat was concerned. That sun was just like bearable. But thank God for Indian casinos. Because we just stopped. I remember when we stopped by an Indian casino, and I was actually lucky that day. I came out. I think that day was like $250. I came out with, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm out. I was like, I'm cashing out. I'm out of here. But let's see what we got here next. Okay, liberal hive mind. Let's see what this is about.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Well, you know, it's that thing, that same old phenomenon, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Well, that's exactly what happens time and time again, especially in Democrat strongholds. You keep voting for the same freaking snake oil salesman. This time it's going to be different. The last time wasn't real socialism. The last time wasn't real progressivism. And so this time we're going to vote for the outsider. Oh, in comes Zoran Mamdani, a real outsider. Absolutely loaded, connected parents, you know, parents going to Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein hosted luncheons. The reality he's another deeply entrenched establishment puppet that's been branded differently. And boy, was he branded. And of course, at the core of that brand was all of these new promises. Ooh, a new era of socialism. We'll get all the rich people to give you everything that you ever wanted. Just elect me, and Jeff Bezos and his entire crew will give you all free everything. But obviously that was the scam, right? And now I guess New York voters are realizing what they actually got. You know, exactly as they say, you get exactly what you voted for, and these people voted for socialist squalor, and boy did Mamdani deliver. New York City's already freaking collapsing. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so of course it was supposed to be a fairy tale, right? If you listen to the idiotic Mamdani voters, the moment this guy gets elected, it's going to be the greatest socialist paradise ever. And while Mamdani did have a little bit of a honeymoon period post-election, especially in the polls, he's got the approval. When it comes to actually what's happening in the state, or rather in the city, complete opposite of a fairy tale. In fact, arguably one of the most pathetic starts I've ever seen. I mean, it's not even a start, it's more like a fart. It started off with Mamdani essentially declaring, defeat on most of his public initiatives, on his programs. He was going to do so many things with all the rich people's monies, but first he had to tax them. He had to increase their taxes. Well, Kathy Hochul basically told him to pound sand. Then he started one by one going through, do that. Let's cross them all off the heap. This guy can't even keep up. He's too busy doing all these fancy press conferences, praising Allah or praising attempted murderers, portraying them as the victim so he could convey how much he cares. He's such a softie, Mamdani. But when it comes to what's actually happening on the streets, governing the state of New York City, like I said, socialist squalor.
This is New York City. 3 minutes from the mayor's house is becoming the city that never sweeps. Towering 8-foot-high piles of rat-infested trash are choking the streets around Gracie Mansion, while the mayor's residence appears to receive spotless white glove treatment.
Give a congratulations to our newly elected, amazing, wonderful mayor, Kwame Mami Mamdani. Everything's under control. The streets.
Damn. That's a lot of fucking trash.
Schedule. It's every 3-4 weeks. They come by, they pick up some garbage. We're following the sanitation procedures of Cuba. It's going to be beautiful.
I did a video about Mamdani not cleaning up the trash in New York, and people were like, oh, it's because of city snow, because of ice. Do you see this? This is because of nothing. Look, this is the Great Wall of New York City trash. This is now a national landmark, actually. You can't even see that there is a road on the opposite side of this. I'm about 6 feet tall. Look at this.
Wow.
This is my height.
New York City doesn't exactly have a reputation of being clean, but this is a new level. And people are saying, oh, it's the snowstorm. It's the snowstorm. No, it's been quite a while since the snowstorm. And not much has happened. The city has become a dump. It's not like Texas. It's not like a place that's basically a desert, and then all of a sudden in comes a snowstorm anomaly. No, this is New York City. It gets cold up there. They get some snow. I mean, the idea that it would go to crap this quick and this badly. 13 homeless people died. You got maggots and trash everywhere. And Mamdani is busy virtue signaling about ICE and blaming everything on Eric Adams. This guy is a complete and utter fool. And it's exactly like I said. You people, you New York voters, you fell for the same old grift. The down-to-earth socialist who really understands your issues. No, he doesn't understand your issues. And that's the problem. He doesn't understand jack squat. And neither do his voters. I mean, it's just unbelievable when you listen to these people speak. They clearly can't think past their nose. The entire ideology just seems to boil down.
Where the tax top 1% already pays 50%. 1% already pays 50% of all taxes. But I ask you, so if you tax the rich to oblivion, what happens when the rich leave the city? Who's to tax then?
They won't leave the city.
Why not? They've already done it in California.
Because in New York State, we have Wall Street. They're not leaving. And so what
you think they can't leave? Then who are you going to tax when they leave?
We're just going to continue taxing people. But you're
the middle class, right?
Yes, actually, the middle class.
Oh, okay, so you explained it. So we're going to tax it out of the middle class when the rich people leave after you tax it out of them.
I think we should tax them of everybody. Yes, I think the middle class should be taxed 50% like it does in Sweden.
That's a grift, folks. And
What?
obviously, it doesn't work when you have freedom of mobility, which is the
Tax the
exact
middle
strength
class
that the most
too?
wealthy, most productive people have. They can get up and get out of Dodge. Oh, well, we have Wall Street. Nobody even
girl,
trades on the floor in
where
Wall
did
Street
she
anymore.
get her-
Everything's digital these days. You don't
I
need
don't
to be
know.
physically in New York
A
City.
hair
Why
alone
would you? Why would you
gives it away.
self-flagellate to that extent if you're an actual productive member of society? If you're investing and moving money, you're going to do what's best for your clients, what's best for your bottom line. And you see how the ideology goes, right? It's, oh, the rich people, we're going to tax them to oblivion. And if they leave, well, we're going to tax the middle class. There's no actual substance. There's no fixing the root cause of any of these issues. In fact, mostly the root cause is the far left policies, but these people can't see it and they're just voting for it over and over again, putting the same idiots back into power, except each and every time it gets progressively worse. I guess that's the definition of progressivism, right? It gets progressively more far left and progressively shittier. We'll just keep telling ourselves that, oh, we're New York. What happened in Venezuela could never happen here because, checks notes, we have Wall Street. Incredibly stupid. I mean, you have to be stupid to vote for these people. Yes, the far left socialist. That's the person who really understands me, who's really down to earth. Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, they would never swindle me. Oh, wait, what's this? They were once again seen boarding another private jet.
Oh, AOC. On her private jet. They're like, there goes Bernie. Oh.
Well, you know, I guess my evil capitalism and my existential threat of climate change be damned. They're doing necessary work. It's a necessary evil. Yeah, grifting for dollars and more political influence. These people don't give a crap about you. And time again, these ideologues, they have no life experience. They have no governing experience. They don't understand anything, let alone the economy, let alone how to manage and run a city. And boy, is that true for Mamdani. The guy's a kid. He's like so many people that I went to school with. Never had a job, never done anything, never paid a significant amount of taxes, never operated a business. But he knows everything. Oh, I know everything. The solution to all problems is, but rich people, but corruption, but late-stage capitalism. It's a brain-dead ideology. It's not pragmatic. It's not realistic. And the people who wield these ideologies, time and time again, prove themselves as the biggest grifters on planet Earth, the biggest career opportunists. They're freaking narcissists who wield the ideology as a badge of moral and intellectual superiority. It's like a catch-all term. Why understand actual complex issues? Why tell people the hard things that mostly poor outcomes are due to poor decisions, that you can't magically fix all social ills by engaging in class warfare? No, hard work is required, freedom to personal accountability, and most importantly, the freedom to actually pave your own path and create your own destiny. That's the answer to most problems. No, why do that when you could simply grift and benefit tremendously? A lifelong career in politics by simply engaging in Oprah Winfrey type tactics. You get a free bus ride and you get a free bus ride. That was the promise, and instead all you get is trash and squalor on the streets. You get the freaking policy floor pulled from under you. Actually, all those things I promised, not really happening. Whoops. I guess I overestimated my ability to get things done because I don't really understand basic concepts of how to run a proper government. And well, it appears, Zoran Mamdani, the most popular guy of the year, he's probably going to be on a bunch of magazine covers. Mr. Massive approval rating, the answer to all social issues in America. I guess slowly but surely, the luster is starting to dissipate. The rust is starting to accumulate on the surface, and people are slowly realizing. In fact, actually speaking of that, and speaking of this guy's disastrous start as mayer, well, it appears people are already protesting outside of the mayor's mansion.
The big rat. That's what they're gonna look like.
We advocated for you. You ain't getting up. Get up in there and lie to us. You lied to us. Shame.
Absolute disaster.
I want to watch The Princess
Really,
Bride.
I gotta tell you, probably one of the least surprising
Andre the
things
Giant
I've seen in
in it.
my time
Like,
covering
it was a
politics.
great movie.
Anyways, that's what I got. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thank you, Liberal Hive Mind. We're just talking about movies here, but The Princess Bride. Remember the rat scene? That is like that big rat, and then it's like it attacks Pugsley on the floor. He's holding the rat like this, and the rat's trying to and then he moves over and burns the rat. Those are the type of rats that are gonna be in New York. Those are the big rats. They're gonna be that big. They're gonna be like, they're gonna like transform into like super rats. And I seen big rats in New York. It scared the fuck out of me. I saw one. I nearly almost had a heart attack. That motherfucker was so big, and it ran like that. I was like, what the fuck? I was so scared. I wouldn't go to New York at night. The fucking rats come out. And they're like, and they're big. And they're just big. And Mandani is leaving them a buffet every day. That's like, what are you doing? Like, this is what happens when you have a rookie that just got into politics. Just literally got into politics. And now is the mayor of the biggest city in probably the world, right? Supposedly the world. No, what is the world? Who knows? But it's our financials district and so forth. And then that girl was like, oh, how about if they leave? Because that's what they're doing. They're like, oh, but we got Wall Street. Wall Street could go anywhere. They don't need to be in New York. They could do it in Miami. I think there have been talks of moving Wall Street to Miami and having Wall Street Miami, and then we're going to work out of Miami. And what you have then, New York. And we're talking about really, successful people with money are all going to be gone. So who's going to cover the tax? Oh, like the girl said, the middle class, 50% on the middle class. Everybody tax. Everybody get taxed. Help me make that make sense. I'm not high enough. This is my first joint. It's half a joint right now. I need to be more high when I start the show because I'm just not there. People are fucking crazy. All right, let's see what else we got here. Let me do some. I hope everyone's having a good night. I got a good little lineup for us to watch. Please stay and enjoy. It is a really good lineup. And we may have a +1 onto the show. And that's okay. I like +1s if it's really good. And without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on the next show here. We're gonna go with this one. Jason A.
I am Jeff Epstein's niece. My father and stepmother had a baby girl in 1991 who was raised by another family. In 1998, they assigned me her birth date on my birth certificate, which they waited 10 years to file, claiming my stepmother was my biological mother, and finally put me in school in the gifted program. My parents were upstanding citizens. My father was a divorce attorney. It goes back for generations. I remember my father confessing that my oldest brother is 8 years younger than him. They told me that we belonged to the cult of Baal. My great-grandfather, according to my father, was Walt Disney. Before he moved to the United States, his name was Artur Bick, and his twin sister, who he had children with, who I am descended from,
and I'm not surprised,
was named Minnie. That's where we get Mickey and Minnie Mouse. It's very cute, right? Except for when you consider the abuse that I suspect is still happening to children who go into the entertainment industry.
Here's what Representatives Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna said they saw just moments ago. Take a listen.
What I saw that bothered me were the names of at least 6 men that have been redacted that are likely incriminated by their inclusion in these files.
Our bigger concern is that there's still a lot that's redacted, even in what we're seeing.
But first, let me say that today I saw a worldwide trafficking ring with people in other countries sourcing young children for Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, in the documents I saw, we got pictures and their names. They're talking about sourcing girls. There's people in Paris, there's people in Russia, there's people in Czech, sourcing girls for Jeffrey Epstein, and then other people talking about these girls being sent to them. They refer to them as, you know, we're dropping the child off. I mean, it's really gross, Jake, on how these people are talking about this stuff in text message and email. I think the American people need to see it and understand that this is a worldwide network that Jeffrey Epstein was running.
На днях премьер-министр Польши Дональд Туск заявил, что Джеффри Эпштейн, скорее всего, был агентом российских спецслужб. Якобы то, что там творилось у него на острове, это становилось компроматом, который передавался или оказался в руках российских спецслужб и может быть использован для влияния на западные элиты, и в том числе на...
Вас уже желтизну заносит.
Ну, это то, что сейчас обсуждается. Вопрос, это первый вопрос. Российская задача российской дипломатии.
Это не обсуждается. Этим пытаются вызвать раздражение в тех кругах, тех стран, которые кому-то в политкругах других стран не очень нравятся. Пытаются и против республиканской партии это использовать в США, и против демократической. В Европе там уже отставки каких-то деятелей на дипломатическом поприще в Англии, там какой-то лорд очередной, где-то в трусах его показали, и он гордо ушел в отставку. Ну, понимаете, если говорить в принципе о том, каким влиянием обладала вот эта группа на острове Эпштейна, то, наверное, любая разведка сочла бы за честь завербовать этого Эпштейна.
Получить материалы какие-то.
Но нас это абсолютно не интересовало никогда, и мы там пытаются искать какие-то русские следы во всей этой куче миллионов страниц. Ну,
упоминания, скажем так, да, российские упоминания в фамилии, да.
Как пел Высоцкий, проникновение наше по планете особенно заметно вдалеке.
То есть нет. Вы ничего не знаете о связи?
Я даже не хочу это обсуждать, потому что эта тема не имеет отношения к нашей дипломатической работе. Эта тема имеет отношение к обнажению того лица, который называется коллективный Запад, который называется глубинное, даже теперь уже не государство, а глубинный союз, который руководит всем Западом и пытается руководить всем миром. То, что это вообще ниже человеческого понимания, то, что это чистой воды сатанизм, наверное, нормальному человеку объяснять не нужно.
Clearly, other people that might be on the client list, that are on text messages and emails, over redaction, dramatic over redaction. It looks like intentionally so. And then documents that are still redacted. And when we asked why these were redacted,
not to me,
because they
but
were submitted into this electronic system.
I'm sure it mattered.
Redacted, and the people that were at our disposal to ask those questions did not know why they were still redacted, Jake.
Every now and then, the hard left media surprise you by putting to air something that is actually insightful, rational, and balanced. I guess even a broken clock is right twice a day, and MSNBC were right when they featured journalist Anand Giridharadas, who had this to say about the latest revelations in the Epstein files.
Sets of emails. This is from Catherine Rumler, who worked as Barack Obama's White House counsel, Democratic administration, White House counsel, lawyer representing the American presidency. Now, in the way that is normal in American life, she's the chief lawyer for Goldman Sachs.
Yeah. Wow.
And they're trading advice. She's getting his advice on, should I become attorney general? She's taking the advice of a convicted sex offender on should I accept Barack Obama's potential offer to be attorney general. And he's telling her, she's giving him advice about his situations in life. And in this very striking scene, she describes driving up to New York, and she says, I will stop at a rest stop at some point in New Jersey on my way up to New York. And I will see, no doubt, all these people who are 100 pounds overweight. And I will be shocked by it. And I will be moved to never eat another morsel of food in my life so that I never become like them. I just want to say to people watching this is what people in that class think about you. You don't normally get a glimpse. You see them on TV. You see them on their curated social media that someone else is doing for them. These emails are a glimpse of how people in this Epstein class feel about you. They feel you're a slob at a rest stop that they unfortunately have to stop at to get gas.
Let's bring in Sky News contributor Kosha Gator. Kosha, that was precisely my takeaway from reading some of these emails. The utter disdain these people have for ordinary Americans, for ordinary people outside their elite circles.
Yes, as you say, Rita, even a broken clock is twice right, or right twice a day. It felt like a through the looking glass moment for me, because
she doesn't get in trouble.
What he was saying is what you and I and other people talk about, certainly on the right side of politics, all the time, every day, every week. And it was just really bizarre to hear them say that. I thought Mika Brzezinski's face was a little bit funny, like there was cognitive dissonance going on in her head, and she couldn't quite work out. Should she debate him? Should she accept it? And I also think it was funny because he, Anand, the contributor over there, is part of that same elite class that looks down on most of the rest of us. But it was interesting that he was excluding himself from it and creating this new category called the Epstein class. You could say that that's a super, super elite within the elite. And it was interesting in that it was bipartisan, sort of. He's sort of lumping them together, bipartisan folks whose names are showing up in the Epstein files. So maybe the edifice is cracking a little bit, and we're getting out of this left versus right thing, because there are offenders from both sides, certainly in those vast emails that are still being analyzed.
Talked about in a completely separate topic. I was hoping you can clarify something that's come up over the last several days, again, regarding a separate topic, in the Epstein files. According to newly released files, the president had a conversation with the Palm Beach police chief in the early 2000s, according to the police chief in 2019. The president has gone on record before, and he's told reporters that he said that that he had no idea about Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. During this conversation with the police chief, however, he did say, according to this recounting of it, that thank goodness you're stopping him. He also called Ghislaine Maxwell evil. So my two questions are, did that conversation with the Palm Beach police chief happen? And can you explain the discrepancy?
What I will say is that the president has always remained consistent, and that he kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his club at Mar-a-Lago because, frankly, Jeffrey Epstein was a creep.
Yeah, he was a creep, Jason A. Thank you for that upload. That was pretty cool. Like, super creep. Like, super creep. Yeah, super creepy. Like, Epstein. Oh, man. And it's just the beginning of a terrible story that, like, you really want to jump into, and everybody wants to jump into it because they want to know. Everybody wants to know. Do you truly want to know? Because it is dark, and I don't think a lot of people can handle. I don't think people can handle it. So let's see here. Okay, let's set this up.
Ghislaine Maxwell, co-conspirator of the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, appeared by video from prison before a House committee today. And to every single question, she pled the fifth, offering absolutely nothing new about Epstein's crimes. She will only talk, her lawyer said, if granted clemency first by President Trump.
See,
Justice correspondent Scott.
You don't want to get in trouble.
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right.
Ghislaine Maxwell's virtual deposition today with a congressional committee lasted just minutes.
She had an opportunity today to answer questions that every American has.
Maxwell pleaded the fifth. Her attorney said she will speak honestly about the crimes against girls and clear President Trump of wrongdoing, only if granted clemency by Trump.
I don't think she is going to be helpful at all to anyone in this unless and until she can get a promise that she'll be let out of jail.
Damage from the Epstein files continues.
Let out.
Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick faces new calls to resign after CBS News reported Lutnick was in business with Epstein as recently as 2014 and discussed a 2012 family trip to Epstein's Island, despite claiming he cut ties with Epstein after 2005.
My wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again.
A Commerce Department spokesperson called the men's interactions limited. Other new files show Health Secretary RFK Jr. once went dinosaur bone hunting with Epstein and Maxwell. In Europe, 2 aides to British Prime Minister Keir Starmer have resigned, and there are calls for Starmer to step down himself, under pressure for appointing Peter Mandelson ambassador, despite his long friendship with Epstein. Former Prince Andrew has been further implicated, now under investigation for allegedly sharing confidential material with Epstein. Buckingham Palace says King Charles said he would support the probe, while the Prince and Princess of Wales said they are deeply concerned.
Today, the Department of Justice began allowing members of Congress to view the millions of pages of unreleased files in a secure room here in Washington. Several did so, and one said there were materials involving girls as young as 9 and 10. Tony, they called it sickening.
Scott, thank you very much.
Yeah, she wants protection. That's what it is. All right, let's keep it moving. Ooh, Jason A. Let's put the volume.
To the things that are coming out from these files.
Hold on.
Are we all seeing what's being revealed? Are we all paying attention to the things that are coming out from these files? Because I'm worried that I'm going to have to try and explain to somebody what I'm hearing and seeing, and I'm going to sound like I'm experiencing psychosis because I feel like I'm experiencing psychosis. I can't even sleep. I'm so angry. I'm petrified. This is some of the most vile, most demonic I have ever even fathomed. Like, it is unfathomable. And I feel like people are not paying attention. I feel like we are underreacting. I feel like I'm very worried that when we are exposed to such distressing information, like we are being overloaded with the most appalling news ever, that we numb ourselves and we block it out because it's too much, which is like a totally valid human experience and thing to do. But like, we cannot do that. We cannot do that because like, are these up freaks like sitting there laughing, being like, well, everything's out and nothing's gonna happen, and like, look, we got away with it, and like we got away with the most horrifying stuff that like it's not even humanly possible to believe that this is happening. Like I literally cannot wrap my mind around the fact that these things happened. It is unconscionable. And like, what the are we supposed to do? Genuinely, what the are we supposed to do?
Here's some mention, he says, of underage girls. And in this case, there's no even argument, actual girls. Let's play A6 and take a listen.
I mean, it's an incredibly serious thing. When you read through these files and you read about 15-year-old girls, 14-year-old girls, 10-year-old girls. I saw mention of a 9-year-old girl today. I mean, this is just preposterous and scandalous. So, I don't want to get into any particular case right now, but I hope the whole country is focusing on the absolute gravity of the crisis that we're in.
And you think the British are taking it more seriously than we are?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's a huge scandal.
If you could imagine just in your brain, a bunch of elite people, elite bankers, senators, people who work for the government, worshiping a giant owl statue with flames in its eyes and doing mock human sacrifices in front of it, you think, oh yeah, that's a crazy conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory. Sorry, it was captured on tape. On tape by who? Alex Jones, 20 years ago, snuck in to Bohemian Grove and literally filmed leaders of the world worshiping a statue of a owl. Idolaters, evil people. Alex Jones risked his life to expose these people back in the early days of InfoWars.
And what that email, just for as a reminder, it said, Jeffrey Epstein, to now we know the Sultan, said, I loved the torture video.
Wow.
That's what it was. Okay. Right. What torture video? Right, what are we talking about exactly here?
I mean, what we're after is the men who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked women to. We want those names published.
Are these men U.S. citizens? What fields do they work in? Is it finance? Is it political?
At least one is a U.S. citizen. At least one is a foreigner. And the other 3 or 4 have names. I'm not sure if they're foreign or U.S.
And which field do they work in? Is it finance, banking, political?
One is pretty high up in the foreign government.
And some are there. One of the others is a pretty prominent individual. But I think that the point is that these 6 are just what we found in 2 hours of a review of the files that aren't redacted. The broader issue is why so many of the files they're getting are redacted in the first place.
So many people.
And until that becomes unredacted, the main things that they're sending to the career attorneys to review, I don't think we're going to have full compliance with the law. Get to the question that most Americans want to know. Who were the rich and powerful people who went to this island? Did they rape underage girls? Did they know that underage girls were being paraded around?
6 men implicated, foreign government, someone high up at a foreign government. I would love to see some of that. Certainly would. Immediately afterwards, Thomas Massie actually started tweeting out very specific redactions, which they had been made, which violated, again, the very law that they authored and were passed through Congress, signed by the president. And the DOJ had to start immediately unredacting said files as part of this request. Let's put this next one up here on the screen. Thomas Massie, in response to my post today, the DOJ has now unredacted an FBI file that labels 2 individuals as co-conspirators. They have unredacted a file that lists several men who be implicated, and they have tacitly admitted Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayam was the sender of the torture video.
And this is just only going to further corroborate that in people's minds, that we're being basically ruled and run by a bunch of folks that think they can do whatever, and consequences don't apply to them. And maybe the reality is so far they haven't.
Evil is the absence of good, which is essentially true, but evil also is resident in certain spiritual entities that are even now, I think, and have always been at work in the planet, but are on hyperdrive in the time we're living right now. What's even worse, I think, about this personality is that he hates you. He really does hate you. I mean, there's not a gracious, kind, loving, sympathetic thought at all. That he finds great pleasure from your sufferings and your hardships. And if for no other reason, not because you were necessarily virtuous, because he even hates the non-virtuous person, simply because we are made in the image of the one that he hates the most, and that is God. He says in verse 8 that ancient serpent called the devil or Satan, who leads the whole world astray, he was hurled to the earth and his angels with him. Essentially, he is disrobed and exposed so he can no longer disguise himself as an angel of light. His true character becomes more and more revealed, that he is a vicious, raging, voracious, monstrous source of unlimited evil, responsible for all of the death and the disease and the destruction that we see around the world. That he's no longer compose himself as an angel of light at this point of the tribulation, but he is exposed for who he is, an enormous, horrible dragon. But until then, he remains dangerous, as Peter warns us again in 1 Peter 5:8. He's prowling around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. So we never should underestimate him. In fact, when Paul wrote to the Corinthians in 2 Corinthians 2:11, he says, we are not ignorant of Satan's devices. And yet, so often, I don't know that we can call it ignorance or just distraction. That we could get so caught up in the motion of time, matter, and space that we lose sight of the spiritual dimensions that are more at play and more significant. And so instead of praying with an earnest focus, we spend a lot of time running around like Chicken Little, complaining that the sky is falling. Not to say that it's not falling. But you see, what is in the meantime Satan's strategy? What is he up to right now? Well, it hasn't changed. From the very beginning, Satan has set out to establish a global empire. We've talked about this in the past. Next week, and when I expand on this whole topic quite a bit, because I've had 2 weeks to do nothing but think about this stuff. But his goal has been to establish a global empire over which he can cruelly rule mankind through the agency of demons-possessed minion by the name of the Beast. See, John Graphic describes this government, this entity that he's going to rule over and rule from. It has 7 heads. And later on in chapter 17, it says the head and 7 heads, there's 7 mountains, which I find is interesting. It has 10 horns, which refers to nations or dominions, we're told later on. It has 7 crowns, which means it has leaders or rulers that go from 10 down to 7 and ultimately become consolidated into the power of one man. These rulers will give all of their power and authority to this one man who is nothing else but a placeholder, a puppet for Satan. Kind of like, our government has been for the last 4 years. 4 times John talks about this. He said, I saw a beast rising in chapter 13 out of the sea. That means coming out of humanity. That the beast is I believe, a person. Some people think it's a system, a government, but these things are melded together. But he seems to be an individual having 7 heads, 10 horns, and his horns 10 crowns. But most importantly, it says, and on his head are words, names of blasphemy. That his entire orientation of this new governmental agency is to overthrow the kingdom of God, to resist it and to take over. Now, all of this stuff would be little more than cryptic scribblings were it not for the book of Daniel and the visions that God gave to him. And it's kind of interesting because when you come to the end of the book of Revelation, John is told, don't seal the book because it's for the time of the end. In other words, it's supposed to be understandable. It's supposed to be read. It's supposed to be able to look at it and see this transpiring within the world. But at the end of Daniel's book, which predates it by 700 years, it said, seal these things and don't let people understand them, in other words, until you come to the end. And so we have kind of a cipher really given to us. Daniel is a kind of a cipher for Revelation. We can look at what God said in Daniel and we can understand more clearly what he's talking about in Revelation. And what Daniel told us that in his visions of the end time, he said there will be 4 dominating world empires, and we are told who they are within Daniel's prophecy. The first is the Babylonian Empire. The second is the Persians, who overthrew the Babylonians, and the Persians then were overthrown by the Greeks, and the Greeks were overthrown by the Romans. Final. It's easy. But then he says there's a final empire, excuse me, that appears to rise out of the remnants of that Roman Empire. He says of it in chapter 7 of Daniel, it'll be different from all other kingdoms. It shall devour the whole earth. In other words, it's a truly global power. It'll trample it and break it in pieces. So he'll destroy wonderfully is one of the ways that Daniel puts it. It has 10 horns and 10 kings who shall arise from this kingdom, and it will be partly strong and partly fragile. They will mingle, but they will not adhere to one another. Just as iron does not mix with clay, later on in chapter 8, he says that a king shall arise with having fierce features who understands sinister schemes. His power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. In other words, he'll be empowered by Satan. He destroys fearfully and shall prosper and thrive, and he shall destroy the mighty, also the holy people, through his rule. Through his cunning he shall cause deceit to prosper, and he shall exalt himself. Paul later tells us he will exalt himself to be equal with God. He shall destroy many in their prosperity. He shall even rise against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without human means. So we're told these things about this entity that's coming.
It's an entity coming. There's a lot of crazy shit coming. Thank you, Jason A, for a great upload there. Just very fucking unique times. I'm just lucky to be alive and just witnessing everything that's going on because it's just a very unique times we're living in. All right, let's see what else we have here. Let's keep it moving. Got more to watch.
Recently released documents from the Jeffrey Epstein files pose new questions about what President Trump knew about the convicted sex offender and when. This as the U.S. Commerce Secretary is under fire for his relationship with the late financier. Here's a Washington, D.C. Bureau reporter.
With that person.
Tonight, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick facing calls from both sides of the aisle to resign over his contact with Jeffrey Epstein.
Over a 14-year period, I did not have any relationship with him.
Recently released emails showed Lutnick communicated with Epstein and even visited his infamous island with his wife and children in 2012, years after Epstein was convicted as a sex offender. The White House is standing behind him. Secretary Lutnick remains a very important member of President Trump's team, and the president fully supports the secretary. Meanwhile, newly released documents are raising more questions about what President Trump knew about Epstein. According to the documents, then citizen Trump called the Palm Beach Police Department in 2006 to say he was glad investigators were looking into Epstein. But the DOJ says there's no evidence to show that call ever happened.
Did he call the chief?
Look, it was a phone call that may or may not have happened in 2006. I don't know the answer to that question.
Mr. Epstein and a bunch of his co-conspirators had a worldwide child trafficking ring.
Meanwhile, South Florida Democrat Jared Moskowitz is one of the first members of Congress to review unredacted versions of the Epstein files. Moskowitz says, unlike the heavily blacked out documents that have been released to the public, these versions appear to identify other people who played an active role in Epstein's crimes.
Teens, preteens are in other countries, locating them, identifying them, and then soliciting them to their clients.
And Congress the Epstein documents and Epstein investigation as she comes here to Capitol Hill for a hearing.
And Ross, today we also saw family members of Epstein victim Virginia Giuffre on Capitol Hill.
Well, they were here alongside Democratic lawmakers to help introduce the Virginia Act. Now, Virginia Giuffre was one of the first people to come forward and publicly blow the whistle about Jeffrey Epstein. Louis, she died by suicide last year, but was a truly galvanizing force that helped bring the entire world's attention to the abuse that she and other young women suffered at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. If passed into law, the Virginia Act would get rid of statute of limitations restrictions for survivors of sexual abuse, giving them more time to continue pursuing justice. Louis?
Ross Ketchy on.
It's gonna bring it back to me. Yeah, that Epstein it's a real deep rabbit hole because it implements a lot of people, a lot of royals. That's the crazy part. And it's a big time, like, it's kind of like self-destruct. It's like everything's gonna self-destruct in 3, 2. It feels like a Spaceballs movie. We're living in some unique wild times. I don't know if you guys feel it. I kind of feel it. I feel like the energy is so different. I feel like there's so much more, but it's like, can you handle it? Can you handle if they give us the truth? Can you truly handle it? And that's a question that the up 1% don't want you to know. So this implements a lot of people, gets a lot of people in royally trouble, for sure. Let's see here. Let's see if this is one that we haven't seen yet. No. I'm going to play that one. It's going to take this one out. Okay, here we go. Sorry, I have to, set things up here.
Duchess of York Sarah Ferguson has been labelled desperate and a degenerate in the latest instalment of the Epstein files, with emails between her and Jeffrey Epstein revealing she was regularly chasing money and attention from the convicted pedophile. The exchanges seemingly indicate that the disgraced ex-wife of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor was very attached to Jeffrey Epstein, telling him he was her pillar. She also wrote, "I am at your service. Just marry me." And this, "When are you going to employ me?" Also, "And phew, you still love me." Here's more from journalist Andrew Pearce.
5 days after that was released from prison,
anything goes wrong, just
Sarah
blame her.
Ferguson was taking her daughters, or offering to take her daughters, aged 19 and 17, to have lunch with a paedophile. You could not make up what self-respecting mother, let alone Sarah Ferguson, would think that was an appropriate way to behave.
Let's bring in veteran broadcaster Dee Dee Dunleavy. Dee Dee, there's no coming back from this. She clearly knew of Epstein's depraved activities, but she's still engaged with him and even took her daughters to visit him shortly after he finished serving his sentence. Before I get your input, let's have a look at a few more emails Fergie sent Epstein, a convicted pedophile at this point. She wrote, "I have never been more touched by a friend's kindness than your compliment to me in front of my girls. And this, you are a legend. I really don't have the words to describe my love, gratitude for your generosity and kindness." And this one, "Not sure yet, just waiting for Eugenie to come back from a shagging weekend." I mean, why would you speak like that to a man like Jeffrey Epstein and include your daughters, Dee Dee? I just do not understand this.
No, and it's all about the timing with these correspondence between the two of them, Rita. I think you can divide all the people involved or named in the Epstein files into two categories: those who cut off contact with him after he was convicted and sent to jail in 2008 for child sex offences. But it very much appears that Sarah Ferguson continued to be in contact with him. 2 days after he was released from prison, his assistant approached him and asked would he pay for flights for Sarah and for the girls to go to Miami. Now, we don't know that he did pay for them, but they certainly were in Miami a couple of days later. So the implication would be that he was paying for her to travel. And then we see other emails after that where he's asking for his business contacts to be shown around Buckingham Palace by Sarah Ferguson, and would the girls be there and would the girls be able to show them around. It's almost like she's pimping them out, and it's actually gut-churning. It's sickening. And I think the monarchy are very worried about her at the moment because there are talks that she's speaking to a ghostwriter about writing some sort of a memoir about her time at Buckingham Palace.
And she's got nothing to lose now. Her reputation is in tatters with these revelations. The analysis of what these emails reveal is very scathing. So you can imagine she'd be very motivated to put her version of events forward.
This is wild. Wild times. All right, let's keep it moving.
Mark Zuckerberg could be the latest California billionaire to land in Florida. The Wall Street Journal reporting the Meta CEO bought a waterfront mansion in the Sunshine State and plans to move by April. Zuckerberg is among the latest of the ultra-wealthy fleeing California as state lawmakers threaten a massive wealth tax. And Florida real estate agents are telling the Journal they've been working nonstop, showing properties to Californians since the new tax was proposed. So I picked this story for you, Jackie, because it's Mark Zuckerberg, and he's moving to Florida. He's a Republican now. That's right. See, should Florida just be embraced? Do you think this means the whole Meta, conglomeration is going to shift its center of gravity down to Florida? Is that what this means? Is this a business move out of California?
I don't know, but the hypocrite himself wants to take advantage of the opportunities in Florida, so he is going there. You know how I feel about him. He went as left and far left as the left go, and then all of a sudden he did an about face. Now, some people think that's genuine. I personally don't, but that is my humble opinion. I'm not surprised by this at all, but I think that, all eyes, for example, are on this trial right now. What did Meta know? What did Mark Zuckerberg know with respect to children, problems that were occurring on their application, content that was on there that spurred issues for people that are, devastating. So I'm curious to see what happens with him, but I'm not surprised at all to see him trying to work the system.
His new neighbors, Dagan, in...
You don't need to tell. I know who they are.
Tell us who they are.
Bezos and his wife.
That's
Carl
right.
Icahn.
Yes, sir.
Ivanka and Jared live on that island. Tom Brady.
That I do not know.
Yep.
Tom Brady does.
Tom Brady does. He got the house when he busted up with Giselle.
And now Zuckerberg. So a nice neighborhood, a good barbecue in the neighborhood potentially.
If I had the money, I would not buy on that island. It's just bless you, bless you.
Thank you.
It's just a enclave in and of itself. It's very fancy. Go look at it on Google satellite. You have to be potentially, depends on the way this law is written, you had to be out of California, I think, before January 1.
To miss the tax.
It's retroactive,
Right, it's
which
retroactive.
is wild.
I don't think it's going to be enforceable.
We can talk about legality.
Okay, but Zuckerberg and his ilk, like a Bezos, they have so much money that they have homes everywhere.
Yeah.
They have assets, like hard assets, real estate and properties everywhere. So he's buying this thing.
Can I just say one thing? I also think he's just keeping up with the Joneses, given the list of other inhabitants of the island that you mentioned. There's part of me that thinks he just wants to be there because Bezos and you know who are there, and Tom Brady and the Kushners. And
I hope they actually really move, because I'm going to sound like you, suck them dry.
Yeah, this is the most
want
interesting thing for
California
me,
to
though.
be
I didn't
sucked
think
dry.
there was anyone that disliked Mark Zuckerberg more than me, but I met
Oh, no, yeah. I'm up
So
there.
I've never been a fan of him, but here's the interesting thing. Him and his wife have pledged all their wealth to give it to charity, right? 90%. Think about what they're saying now. We're going to leave California because we don't want to give the money to the state government. I think
that's how bad the government
That's how bad it
is.
is. So this is, by my count, the 7th billionaire that has left California, accounting for upwards of $800 to $900 billion worth of wealth. Total billionaires in California is about 180 to 190 with 1.3 trillion. So there is a mass exodus. We told you this was going to happen. All of us said this when this first came about.
Listen,
one leaves and the second, and then it's a death
they
spiral
all
to
want
the
to be
bottom.
socially left of center until the left comes after their bank account. Then all of a sudden we're talking about, and that pendulum has swung so far. They want so much of your bank account that even these guys are bucking it.
So it's let the working man and woman who got left behind, who they paid, funded the campaigns of these Democrats and these left-wing politicians, got them elected, and then they leave the working man and woman in the dust to eat the cake.
Yeah.
Right.
When they
to hopefully
hit the road.
revote and revote to the right.
So
Well,
Gavin Newsom
maybe they
puts a
can-
national wealth tax.
Maybe they can get a fun little book club going in the neighborhood.
Okay, let's keep it moving.
NBC is dealing with a little FCC challenges of its own. That would be because of Bad Bunny. Did anybody watch Bad Bunny? Or did you go and watch the Turning Point show? Because that's where it was at. Kid Rock singing some nice music, by the way. Very, very nice, wholesome music. This Bad Bunny is bad news. And you know what? It's going to catch up to NBC because you now have members of Congress coming out and demanding an FCC investigation. The president weighing in, saying the Super Bowl halftime show is absolutely terrible, one of the worst ever. It makes no sense. And it's an affront to the greatness of America and doesn't represent our standards of success, creativity, or excellence. Nobody understands a word this guy is saying. Well, you know, he's saying entirely in Spanish. And the dancing is disgusting. I'd agree with that, especially for young children that are watching from throughout the USA and all over the world. This quote unquote show is just a slap in the face to our country, which is setting new standards and records every single day, including the best stock market and 401ks in history. You better believe it. Gosh darn it. He thinks it's going to 100,000 by the time he leaves office. Wow, wow, wow. 76research.com, my company. Make sure, I think I put the show link in the notes. So go check that out. 76research.com. Go look at those model portfolios. I feel like your mom, but go do that. Okay. After the show, of course, including the best stock market and 401ks in history. He said, there is nothing inspirational about this mess of a halftime show, and watch. It will get great reviews from the fake news media because they haven't got a clue what's going on in the real world. And you know what? He's totally right. I was looking over at all the reviews. I mean, here's one from CNN. Bad Bunny Super Bowl halftime performance redefined what it means to be an American patriot. You had MSNBC actually trying to equate Bad Bunny with Ronald Reagan. I kid you not. CNN, though, writing, in just over 13 minutes worth of music, stars, and symbolism, Puerto Rico superstar Bad Bunny rewrote what it means to be an American in a time of strife. My gosh, they think the guy was Shakespeare, right? For months, conservatives from the president on down have painted him as anti-American. Bad Bunny asked, what if I'm the real American? Bad Bunny, who introduced himself with his full name, Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio, brought the Puerto Rican culture to life, right? Puerto Rican culture to life in his Super Bowl halftime performance, a joyous and high energy affair. Okay, CNN, we know you love him. We know you love him, but I bet you can't speak Espanol now, can you? No. But that's actually a problem. He was speaking so much Spanish and singing so much Spanish that actually could come back to bite NBC in the you-know-what. Randy Fine, the representative from Florida, is disgusted by the whole darn thing, and he's calling for an FCC investigation. Oh, or more. I think he actually wrote lock him up. Okay, so he's really fired up. I mean, listen, it was gross, right? And Bad Bunny, I don't even know if I want to have those lyrics. Do I have them? I'm looking. Gosh, I don't even know if we want to have those lyrics on set, or on the screen. The lyrics are so bad, okay? I speak Spanish, but I don't even know the words that they're saying. Those words are really, really bad.
Really
that would take
it's not good.
More, or shall we say, less sophisticated version of Spanish.
They're going to get in big trouble with the FCC.
Whoa. Okay, so
definitely,
you don't even want to look at the English translation. I mean, they're just really, really bad. And so this is okay. This is who you're going to put up. Now, I immediately, I was going
to
give me a snack. Is he going to say this bad stuff in Spanish? Because if he is, that would be an FCC violation. I went and looked it up. So you can't say bad words in English or in Spanish. So I was like, if he does it, if he says it, now somehow they altered everything. They made it sort of the radio edit, right? Because that's another FCC rule. You can't say those words on anything that's federally controlled airwaves. So he somehow cleaned it up, but now this congressional member is saying it was so bad. I mean, those things are so bad. You're an American as a Puerto Rican. You live by the same kind of rules. What's going on with the NFL, with NBC, and Bad Bunny all together? And I think actually he might have a leg to stand on here. Now, let's just think about it for a second again, because don't forget what the FCC is there to do. They're there to look out for the public interest. And that standard means that they need to focus on the community itself. And the FCC requires broadcasters to operate, as I said, in quote, the public interest, convenience, and necessity, as per section 307 of the Communications Act of 1934, so the needs of their local community. Okay, well, in this case, you're talking about local community being all of America. So all the stations, all the individual stations on NBC that carried this and had everything being broadcast in Spanish. Well, how's that any good if you don't speak Spanish? Right? I mean, you can't even understand what he's saying. So they're not even broadcasting in your language. Maybe they can get around that by saying, okay, well, we had some lower thirds, the closed captions that were translated. Actually, I don't think they even had a translation, did they? I didn't see a translation up. Well, nobody wanted a translation of that, frankly. Thank you very much. Anyway, most people went over and they watched, not most people, but a lot of people, at least the people I know, went over and watched Turning Point's show, which was fantastic with Kid Rock and some others. But many members of the mainstream media got somehow offended that Turning Point had something else going on. And it's like, listen, it's a free country. Anybody can program against the Super Bowl. I mean, why not, right? It's a free country. You can do that. But they were so offended. You should have heard them on MSNBC just knocking it because somehow, their parents, the mothership that they've somehow split off from, because the mothership is like, oh my gosh, we don't want anything to do with those people right about now. And they can't make any money. So they've been spun off. And they're somehow trying to defend their mothership. And it's like, guys, you don't sound very good. As John Solomon, my friend, pointed out, listen to his take on it. I want you to hear.
He and his guests kept trying to portray what Bad Bunny did as inclusive. If half or 3/4 of the audience, or even more, doesn't understand the words, it's not very inclusive. So I thought Morning Joe was more like a propaganda machine again today. It's supposed to be a news show. He should at least have some semblance of fact when he makes his claims. He's a make it up sort of guy these days.
Yeah. So they're broadcasting the whole thing in Spanish. Yo hablo español. Yo no tengo un problema con eso. I speak Spanish. Yeah, the Irish girl that speaks Spanish. I speak a lot of languages, actually. Italian, Spanish. At one point, I was really good at German, but so much for that. I don't get the chance to practice it that much. I was a singer in another life, the classically trained singer. So that's part of the deal. You kind of need to be able to sing in all those languages. So I would just say, like, the majority of America doesn't speak Spanish. You're broadcasting to every single household in America. It's all in Spanish. That could be a problem. And then, of course, the content itself, even if there weren't actual swear words, just some of the content, the dancing, etc., could come under scrutiny. And listen, again, it's FCC. You're on nationally controlled airwaves. It's not the same as cable. It's not the same as YouTube. But you know what? YouTube killed it. Charlie Kirk's Turning Point, God rest his soul. They killed it. Wow, this was amazing. Did you see the numbers on this thing? Incredible. They're talking about over 25 million people tuning in live to watch Kid Rock and others. I
don't like Turning Point.
Tremendous show that was about good, wholesome values and belief in Jesus Christ.
They got the belief in Jesus Christ and stuff, but you still got
that's what you want to be watching
inside the
with
office.
your kids, right? When you're doing a wholesome family thing like watching the Super Bowl, and then you get Bad Bunny doing bad stuff in the background. Well, you know what? You could have gone over and on YouTube or on Rumble, you could have gone and watched Kid Rock and the Turning Point team. They just did an amazing job. And the guy who's now sort of running it, or the spokesperson, Andrew Colvett, he's Charlie's former producer, good guy. He was talking about how amazing this is. I mean, think about what they were able to accomplish and how scared the big guys are, like the mainstream media networks. They didn't like this one bit. Let's go to Andrew.
I think there was like 1 million people before the show even started, and YouTube for just the Turning Point channel alone got as high as 6.17 million live concurrents. If you add that up, we're actually working with a third-party firm right now this morning to find out what sort of a Nielsen equivalent would be for this. But when you add up that live stream plus Rav's live stream plus on just YouTube, we're just talking YouTube. We're not talking about other broadcast channels or anything like this. And so it's Charlie's, Turning Points, Rav's. If you put those 3 streams together, I think you already have the #1 YouTube stream of all time. We're going to confirm that. I'm not here definitively saying that, but it was easily number 2. We'll see if we were the #1 live stream in the history of YouTube. That's not counting Rumble. That's not counting broadcast. That's not counting all of these other areas. So we know for a fact that about 25 million streams last night, which is like amazing. And the way Nielsen does their numbers is they'll usually put a 2.5x on that because they're depending on groups watching it together. And I had people texting me, parties of 50 watching the game saying, hey, we're tuned into the halftime show. So I mean, it's going to be an estimate, but we're talking 40-50 million people tuned in to Turning Point USA's The All-American Halftime Show. So just an amazing, amazing success. And I will tell you, this is a shot across the bow, Steve. There are media executives, advertising executives all across the country that took note last night, and some of them are pretty nervous this morning.
You know it, right? They're really, really nervous this morning. Anyway, just a phenomenal showing. Congratulations to all of them. And forgive me, Lee Bryce was there, a few others, and Brantley Gilbert, as Don Baca is pointing out. Listen, it was just fantastic to see so much appreciation for what they were doing. And so my congratulations to all of them. And of course, in Charlie's memory, he would have loved this. He just would have loved this.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and keep it moving.
We are following breaking news at this hour. The Rockville City Police Department is providing an update on the shooting that happened yesterday inside Wooten High School in Rockville. A 16-year-old student was shot inside the school and another student was taken into police custody. Let's take you live to the press conference now.
The second victim did not suffer injury. However, through investigation, we learned that the suspect in the case pointed a firearm at that person earlier in the day prior to this shooting occurring. That victim is a 15-year-old female juvenile. At this time, I'll turn it over to State's Attorney John McCarthy for his commentary.
Good afternoon. My name is John McCarthy, and I'm the state's attorney for Montgomery County. I'm happy to join Chief West and the men and women that represent all the other allied agencies that responded so beautifully yesterday to the events at Wooten High School. In this particular matter, there was scheduled to be a bond review today for the 16-year-old who was named as the defendant in this case. However, the processing of that prisoner took past midnight, and it did not allow the bond to be scheduled in time for today's hearing. The bond review in this matter, and it will be for all the same charges that the chief just outlined, the second-degree murder, 2 first-degree assaults, and multiple handgun offenses, will take place tomorrow at 1 p.m. before Judge Glynn, who is a district court judge. Literally, the building in which this is held is probably about 100 yards away from where we are. That bond review will take place at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. There's already been set a preliminary hearing on date in this case, and the preliminary hearing date is for February the 20th at 9:30 in the district court. So there are 2 dates that are here. Now, the defendant in this case is 16 years old. He's charged originally because under the laws that exist in Maryland, if you commit either an attempted first or second degree murder or use a handgun in the commission of those crimes, the original jurisdiction is in the adult court. That is why, despite him being only 16, he is in the adult court based on the way the law exists in Maryland. Interestingly enough, that is what is now being debated in Maryland legislature as to whether or not those laws should be changed and whether or not these matters could be properly handled in the juvenile division of the court rather than the adult system. Again, it's just ironic that this would happen at a time when literally on Thursday of this week, this would be debated in the House of Delegates as to whether or not we're going to change how we would handle these matters, or whether or not that would be an appropriate place or where a child could receive appropriate treatment for whatever led them to become involved in crime. Having said that, I'm going to reserve the remainder of my comments to following the bond review. There will be some comment after Judge Glynn sets the bond in this matter. I will tell you, as of right now, the defendant is being held without bond in a detention facility here in the county.
We have a lot of questions about the coordinated response yesterday, and I'd really like to talk about that for our community. This was a coordinated response between 3 significant law enforcement agencies in this county: the Rockville Police, Montgomery County, and the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. In my time as a law enforcement officer, I've never seen such a fluid and smooth operation. We don't want these events to occur in any of our schools in this city or in this county, but I can assure you that if those things do happen, our officers are trained, they're prepared, and yesterday they acted without hesitation. The first arriving officers from all 3 police agencies, without due regard for their own safety, entered that school, and they used their training based on the active shooter protocol. They did not wait in the parking lot. They did not wait for backup. They made entry to save and preserve lives. And for that, I'm extremely proud of everybody's effort. At this time, I'd like to ask Sheriff Wee if he'd give some commentary on that joint response.
Thank you, Chief. Again, good afternoon. My name is Maxwell Wee, and I'm the sheriff here in Montgomery County. First off, let me reiterate our thoughts and support for the victims of this tragic incident, as well as all the students, the staff, and the greater Wooten High School family that's been affected. As the chief said, we are very thankful for the coordinated efforts, the training that we put in on the front end by the agencies here in Montgomery County. I'm so incredibly thankful by our Montgomery County police partners, our municipalities throughout the county, certainly to include Rockville City, as well as the amazing work done daily by our sheriff's deputies. In this specific incident, it's my understanding we had over 15 sheriff's deputies that responded, and that commonality training that we work together before these types of critical incidents, again, as the chief mentioned, we're able to respond as one unified force. And again, I'm very appreciative of all the work that's done by our law enforcement agencies. Thank you, Chief.
Just as a follow-up, the victim in this case remains in stable condition at an area hospital. At this time, we'll take a few questions.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the relationship between the suspect and the victim, or anything you've gleaned from the investigation so far?
So I can tell you the victim in this case and the suspect are acquaintances. We are still investigating whatever that relationship may be and whatever the motive was for this crime.
Can you speak to the 15-year-old as well? Does that mean charges could be upgraded if he pointed a gun at somebody else? And maybe you said this, but the 15-year-old was also a Wooten High School student?
Also a Wooten High School student. We had probable cause to file the charges for first and second degree assault. Whether or not charges get upgraded or downgraded would be left to the good judgment of our state's attorney.
So is that second first-degree assault charge related to the 15-year-old or both related to the initial victim? And second, was law enforcement aware that he was flashing this gun on social media inside the school before the shooting?
So the second count of first-degree assault, second count of second-degree assault are related to the second 15-year-old victim. As far as what was occurring in that school prior to this shooting, that all remains under investigation by our detectives at this time. Yes, ma'am.
Did the gun pointing incident, was that before or after the actual shooting?
We've learned that that was before the actual shooting.
And was that in a classroom? Can you share where that happened in the school?
At this point, that remains under investigation. I'll take one more question.
Was he wearing an ankle monitor at the time?
Mr. McCarthy?
I have no comment.
Was it a ghost gun?
It was a polymer 89mm handgun, commonly referred to as a ghost gun. That's correct.
How concerning is that?
It's very concerning for various reasons. One, we know that those types of firearms are very difficult to trace if we can do that at all. Part of our investigation will include where did that firearm come from, how did that student come into possession of that firearm, and how did it get into the school.
Where was the student and the gun found? You said, it sounded like you said the student, or the suspect, the shooter was found outside the school. And I was wondering, was the gun also found outside?
Yeah, the student was located in close proximity to the school. We used a surveillance team from the Montgomery County Department of Police. We were very confident shortly after this incident as to who this suspect was and where he was at the time. That's what led to the very quick apprehension of him. The firearm was not located in the school. It was located late last night away from the school as part of the ongoing investigation.
Any sense of motive in this case, and would metal detectors have prevented this in the first place?
There is the motive in this case is still under investigation, and I believe the superintendent of schools addressed metal detectors and AI technology last night.
Does law enforcement want to weigh in on metal detectors?
Thank you very much.
Cut her off. All right, well, that was it, and we're gonna keep it moving. Gotta make it under 2 hours. See what's going on in Milan, Italy. Okay, the 4th of July, Milan. Oh, they're going against the police. Oh, this is how you protest. I think Minnesota, we need to take notes. Like, holy shit. Now this is a fucking protest. This is crazy. What is going on here? Look, they're spraying water and they're still shooting at them. Oh, look, they come out with sticks. What are they doing? Oh, look, the police. Oh, police, beat him up. He's hitting you in the head. Up him in the head. That's how the police handle the situation. They bop him in the head. Just too many young people. That's why I think they need World War III to put all these young people in the front line and put them out to fight. They're doing this. Oh, look at this. It's like they come and holy shit, it's a big ass crowd. Got a Palestinian oh, of course the Palestinian flag. Ah, there you go. Now we know who's sponsoring this shit. This is all paid for and brought to you by Pfizer and from your people from Moderna. And side note, there are others that are paying for this, like Liz Doro and Alex Doro. All paid for. Now they're doing this around the world because you gotta understand, they gotta protest all around the world. This is where the Winter Olympics is at. Wow. During the Winter Olympics. Can you imagine what could happen here for the Summer Olympics? This is gonna happen. This is a telltale sign. But to happen here in the United States? Wow, they're really this is like crazy for Italy. You understand, Italy has a really high number of illegals that have infiltrated their homeland. And they are working hard to try to get them out, but it's just way too much of them that got in. And the work is hard. But as you can see, the Chinese have gotten their fireworks inside Italy. So I'm telling you, that's a lot of fireworks. Imagine you're going to be trying to go to sleep, you're in bed, next thing you know, you're hearing all this fucking fireworks and all these fucking people acting crazy. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. Hey, I hope it doesn't get worse than it does get better, because I heard bad things over there. So let's keep it moving.
About 10:31 now here in New York. Got a shocking development in the race for Minnesota governor. The Republican candidate there abruptly suspending his campaign. His 22-year-old daughter has been stabbed to death. Mike Tobin's got the details, Midwest Bureau.
Oh my God.
Tragic. Mike, hello.
Yeah, it's a violent tragedy impacting the Minnesota governor's race. The daughter of one of the Republican candidates, as you mentioned there, Bill, Dr. Jeff Johnson, has been stabbed to death.
Oh
On
my
Saturday night, St.
God.
Cloud police responded to a medical emergency at an apartment to the south of St. Cloud. That is where they found 22-year-old Hallie Marie Tobler dead on the scene from stab wounds.
Oh.
We've got a number of photographs of
Look at the
Tobler
horse,
from
how
social media.
beautiful.
They include pictures with her father and her husband. Her 23-year-old husband was found with critical and apparently self-inflicted injuries. According to reports, he is still hospitalized, but in the custody of St. Cloud police. Police believe that he is responsible for the death of Hallie Marie Tobler. Last report, that husband had not been charged and therefore is not named. Now, the Republican Party of Minnesota put out a statement that Dr. Jeff Johnson is now suspending his campaign for governor. There are no words that can express the sorrow we feel for Jeff and his family. The loss of a child is unimaginable, and our thoughts and prayers are with them as they grieve in this devastating tragedy. Now, the field of candidates for the Republican nomination of governor is crowded. Jeff Johnson was not in the front of the pack. Lisa Dameth, candidate for governor and Minnesota Speaker of the House, extended her prayers for the Johnson family.
Tough stuff, and we'll look for answers. Mike Tobin, thank you in Chicago.
That is a crazy story. Ooh, definitely going to need to follow up on that one. Let's keep it moving.
FBI is able to overcome that if indeed any money was put in, any Bitcoin was deposited, or anything removed or shut down. We knew there was no money in that account, no value in the account, but $6 million in Bitcoin reportedly was requested.
But it's noteworthy that, TMZ and Harvey Levin, who you're talking about now, they had one of the first ransom notes was sent to them, and there was information about this Bitcoin account. But it's notable that these Bitcoin accounts, you can kind of generate another one in 10 to 12 minutes, sometimes 3 to 12 minutes, depending on who the person is opening the account. So it's not as if they were stuck with this one Bitcoin account. And if it went public and they knew that it was being watched, maybe there was a different Bitcoin account that was established because of it. Now, we're getting word tonight that Harvey Levin was on a different network talking about the fact that there is a little bit of activity happening with that account that was on their ransom note. Then, maybe there is still some connection there, but right now it's very muddy as far as how much
Trace,
that plays
Trace,
into what happened today.
Sorry, Trace, we actually have that clip with Harvey Levin. Let's watch.
About 12 minutes ago, we saw activity in that account.
Activity like what?
That's what I can't talk about. There are reasons I can't, but all I can say is there is now activity in that Bitcoin account.
Okay, again, we don't know any more, and it leaves the public to speculate, but one would assume, Trace, that the FBI that's very familiar with assessing these Bitcoin wallets, given how prevalent their use are in criminal activity, that they've been on this, watching this like hawks from day one. The moment this thing dropped and this ransom note dropped asking for the $6 million with no proof of life, apparently, they were monitoring it.
Right.
No, AI monitor, whatever they needed to do.
That would be my guess. I mean, that's how this whole thing. I mean, they clearly had the same information that Harvey Levin had because they had access to the same notes. They had the same information. So yes, my guess would be that they are in that account in some capacity, looking for more information, trying to piece this whole thing together. I mean, something led these SWAT teams and the bomb squad and the command team to go southeast of Tucson, Arizona, right? Leaving the area for the first time in 9 days, moving for the first time in 9 days. Something led them back to Nancy Guthrie's neighborhood. Something is kind of pushing the buttons here. And if all of a sudden you have activity in this Bitcoin account, you can say it may be coincidence, maybe somebody's kind of, look, it seems like they have got more information and they need some of the final touches to be able to kind of put this whole puzzle together.
Trace, thank you so much. We'll check back with you as this moves on.
All right, let's keep it moving.
Special agent who is the former second in command in the state of Arizona, Dan O'Shea, hostage negotiator, Navy SEAL, and Kyle Wolfwinkle, who we have with us as well, former FBI crisis negotiator and hostage rescue team operator. Gentlemen, thank you very much. It's great to have you with us. Kyle, let me start with you. Your reaction to this release of this videotape today.
I'm elated for the family, the Guthrie family, as well as, very proud of my law enforcement brothers and sisters who are working this case so diligently, because now we have, as all your guests have spoken about, some tangible evidence to go off of, right? We've got the backpack, which to me shows that level of preparedness, although he's not polished, right? This individual has a improper holster, it's improperly positioned. So I don't think this person's a professional by any means, but now we have volumes of evidence in order to follow up on, and I'm confident that with the public's assistance, we are going to find this individual.
Dan, what's your reaction when you look at this videotape? What does it tell you?
Well, as your previous guest said, and my colleague who just came on, this will be a game changer. Someone will recognize the gait, the walk, the backpack, the clothes, you can go into where that particular item was purchased, even down to the face mask, that style. So there's just a lot of information here. And I think they held this past the suspension yesterday, because had they released this earlier, the individual that we're seeing on camera, he would have had a target on his back. And he put the pressure on everyone with that 5 o'clock deadline yesterday. Now the pressure's on him. he is now going to feel the heat because I think it's going to be coming with probably, hopefully, volumes of new calls into the hotline.
So, Dan, some people that we've spoken with think that the hostage negotiation ransom note is a separate potential hoax from this individual that we see at the door. But it sounds like you still think there's a possibility they are connected.
Well, the problem I have, if this guy was a hostage taker, he would have, at a minimum, gotten the medical. He was in the house for roughly 40 minutes, 41, 42 minutes. You've got to protect the life of the hostage. And anyone over 50, 60 years old is going to be on meds. You would have logically, again, he's got a backpack. He was prepared to take stuff out. That pack looks pretty full. You have to wonder what was in that backpack. But so again, they're back and forth. I think the ransom demands were for a distraction to throw out a letter. I still think they were thrown out to throw out red herrings and throw the investigation off. Because if he was really in the business of kidnapping ransom, he would have gone directly to the family from the get-go and not to the news media. So I think that there's a media play in what he was trying to do. And now it looks like it might be backfiring on him, hopefully.
So, John, we see these images, and it is one slice of that 41-minute period, at least, that Dan was just talking about. We also have heard about the call from Ring cameras in the other parts of the neighborhood. It's a little bit spread out, but there is a house behind them, and there's a house right across the street. Would you expect that we're going to get more video of an exit from this house as well at some point?
It back for various reasons. Likewise, although there's been a canvass of the neighborhood for Ring camera and video from other sources, they may not have done deeper like the FBI did in this case. Now they're going to be going back and looking at the technology. Even if there wasn't a subscription, there's probably information. We're going to get better pictures without the mask on. But 101 investigations, somebody knows this guy based on the appearance, the walk, the clothing. That person's going to pick up the phone, call law enforcement. We're going to get a quick resolution as a result.
John, staying with you for a moment, do you see this person as someone who is sort of meandering, not quite sure what they're doing, or as someone who has some, has some ability and has put a lot of thought into this? What's your take?
I see too many mistakes being made. Like a lot of criminals, they think they're smarter than they actually are. The mere fact that this person goes up, even though time it's dark, nobody's going to recognize anything. Yet those cameras get such ambient light and are able to give us great images that we're seeing here. The way the weapon is worn, as others have mentioned, those things indicate to me that this is somebody who thinks he has it all planned out, yet he does not, and he's made mistakes. It's going to lead to his capture.
Kyle, in terms of what else we might pick up here, because we know that they are this forensic digital analysis. It takes time, as was pointed out by Dan Bongino moments ago. The FBI came on the case a few days in, and that's water under the bridge, unfortunately, at this point. What do you think is still out there digitally that can add to this story?
Well, I'm sure the FBI agents and local law enforcement officials have gone door to door already and have gone to local businesses collecting all the digital data they can. But now with these new images and now, body size and a body frame and the eyebrows, now the public has a lot more to go off of. So maybe now someone will possibly recognize them getting gassed or driving with a vehicle that was downloaded in the back because there was a body in the back. So to my colleague's point previously, what I like the public to be aware of is to look for those changes in behavior from the offender. Because now, the public dissemination of these images has disrupted his assumption of anonymity, right? Because before he was invisible and no one knew who he was. But now he is out there. The whole world knows who he is. So he's going to change his behavior. Reminds me of the Boston Marathon bombing when the images were released of the two bombers. They changed their behavior, unfortunately, and this same thing could happen here in this case. He doesn't result in violence. But I would encourage the public to look for changes in behavior. If someone suddenly goes berserk and starts acting wildly different from their normal behavioral patterns because this has been released, and they look like obviously the person in the video, then they should immediately call law enforcement or the FBI.
Yeah, we have been calling upon anybody who's looking at these images to call the FBI to let them know if this person looks familiar to you. It's a great point, Dan. You know, we think about Luigi Mangione after the images came out, because we only saw the back of him in that original video with that firearm in the alleged murder that he is on trial for now. But once you get a little bit more of an image, like in his case, there was a drawing that showed his heavy eyebrows. So do you expect that the FBI is putting together a digital look at what this individual might look like without this mask on based on what they have?
Well, believe me, if anyone has the capability to transform a ski mask face into enough of a profile sketch, it's going to be the Bureau. And we assume that they've got more images than this. This is probably the first release, because remember, for 10 days that we were told there was no person of interest, there was no suspect, there was no video. They thought this was, quote, described as an animal may have walked by. But they didn't just get this video last night. They've been poring over this thing for the last 10 days, and hopefully they're drilling down to the granularity of specifics.
Yeah.
And
I just want to point out, if I may, pardon me for interrupting, but what you're seeing here on the left side is a live shot at Annie Guthrie's front door. All right, so keep this full for a moment. We know that investigators were there last night. We know that there were flashes that indicated that photos were being taken. We know, well, now they've been led into the house. You know, and you don't know in this situation, Dan, I want to get your thoughts on this. Obviously, they want to be kept apprised of every development in this case. There was also an indication that they took some Celebrite technology in there that is used to do forensics on laptops, on phones, correct?
Correct. I'm well familiar with Celebrite. I know the reps here in Tampa that do work at SOCOM. So yeah, I'm familiar with what the capabilities of basically scraping everything off a tablet, a cell phone, or a computer for forensic analysis.
All right, so that shot obviously is up in the sky right now, but interesting, John, that they have once again gone back to Annie Guthrie's house. What, if anything, do you make of that?
They're keeping in touch with the family. I'm sure the FBI and the Sheriff's Department are getting phone calls from people already. They're letting them know that this investigation is in full swing at this point, and hopefully letting them know of any developments that they can release to a point. Obviously, the Bureau has to vet all this out, and they're not going to give away information that's still in development. But the family is an integral part of this. It's important that they are kept informed, and hopefully this is going to lead to a successful resolution for the mom. Regardless, we're going to find the subject, and he's going to be in custody.
All right, gentlemen, it's great to have you with us.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey,
All
click
right.
here to
So
subscribe
go
to
ahead
Fox
and
News.
we're gonna watch next. Let me set it up here. Melody King.
Well, this rabbit hole continues to get darker and darker, guys. It says Epstein emails discuss the Hadid sisters' modeling career. He is disgusting. He alleges they did sexual acts and their father paid modeling agencies to attain their success as models. Epstein said because they followed directions. It's that simple. Now they have an image of it, but again, you guys know I have the Jmail. I'm going to show you the image, but I just want to show you guys and verify that this is part of the files. Now, like I told you, you can easily pull this up. It is jmail.world. It did not work on Chrome for me. I had to put it into Safari. But you see here, I just did a little bit of a search. It says the father paid the agency. How did the Hadid sisters become models and make so much money? I don't understand. It goes into a lot of things, but look at this. So it also links to the original document, but we can see it better in this picture that they have on the post that's on X. So as you can see, it's from Jeffrey Epstein. He had multiple email addresses. This one is his JEE vacation one. It says because they follow directions, it's that simple. It says if they can, why couldn't I? I think is he talking to another person who wants to be a model? I'm not sure. It says not relevant to your issue. From whom? This is the real question. no, seriously. And then it goes on. This is so weird. It says, guys, it says in the butt. That's what it says. It says, okay, so if I start at the bottom, it's a better way to read it. Let me just read it. Here it is. It says, how did the Hadid sisters become models and make so much money? And he puts question, I don't understand. I think he's being facetious. But then it says, the father paid the agency. And then the person says, no. Then he says, there are too many girls giving BJs. Agreed. So what did they do? In the butt. No, seriously? From who? This is the real question. Not relevant to your issue. If they can, why couldn't I? Because they follow directions. It's that simple. Guys, we are dealing with the most disgusting, depraved things. This is actually this is bad, but this is some of the lighter things that we've seen in light of the files, eating and sacrificing babies to Moloch. Jeffrey Epstein only ate jerky. Thousands of times mentioning jerky. This is not beef jerky, and them exchanging recipes that Jeffrey may start eating regular food again, but he always has to have his jerky. But he flies internationally, has to be FedEx. Some cold step in cold storage and like talking about, I don't like this recipe of the jerky. It's all this jerky in other people's houses when he travels. So can you bring his bags of jerky? Can you get this jerky? Guys, are we really talking about beef jerky? Absolutely not. What are we talking about? Most likely human flesh, most likely baby flesh, because that was the most tender. They talk about a baby's intestines tasting like talking about cream cheese. They would have the baby's feet, breast milk, and then guys, it's just, I don't even want to talk about certain things right now because it is absolutely disgusting. You get the idea. And plus, I'm going to have to probably just unredacted show photos, videos, and some of the things that are going on under membership. Something that the algorithm won't hit and is just behind a wall. So then therefore YouTube will allow me to put it up. But do you see where this is going? Guys, it's touching every facet of life, government, celebrities, Hollywood. We already knew all this, but just to see the details and to see what they're talking about in this, and for a father, allegedly, we don't know if this is fact, but this is what's coming out. I know the Hadids are mentioned multiple times. Their fathers mentioned in the and some of the exchanges in the emails, but just to see what a father would do. But we've already seen these. A lot of these people were selling their children to the elite for favors, to curry favor. They were exchanging their children, and I mean young children. But this is nothing new to especially those of us who followed Pizzagate.
New photos show that Jeffrey Epstein was a Disney adult. In fact, in one of the latest Epstein file drops, Jeffrey Epstein can be seen photographed at Disney World a number of times. Now, this isn't necessarily too shocking considering the fact that Jeffrey Epstein was a famous pedophile, and he also lived part-time in Florida in West Palm Beach. However, if you look beyond the photos that are being reported on by the mainstream media, you will see that Epstein was at Disney World with a very, very young child. For example, check out these two photographs that were taken at Disney World on the right side of the top image, right here and here. You can see Epstein clearly interacting with the child. And then what we can assume is that same child is seen sitting on Epstein's lap on the Lolita Express, potentially later that day or at the end of the trip. But according to reporting, the two are connected and are more than likely the same girl. You see the narrative being pushed by the mainstream media and politicians would have you believe that most of Epstein's victims were older. Typically, you see stories about victims that were 17, 18, 16 when they were trafficked. What we don't see the media talking about, though, is the extremely young victims of Epstein. I mean, one of Epstein's youngest victims, as reported by a fellow victim, was a 7-year-old boy, which I have seen absolutely zero news stories about. And it makes sense that Epstein would head to Disney World. And I wish we had context with these images because with the recent DOJ,
That's why I don't like
drops,
Disney.
they're simply releasing photographs, documents, stuff like this, and providing
my sister
zero
wants to go there.
context. So we don't really know who the little girl was. We don't know why Epstein was at Disney World. We don't know when he was at Disney World. But based on the files, he seems to have gone multiple times. There are other photos that I could have put in here, but I didn't really feel like going back through the thousands of files to find them. But there are just photos of him walking around in like the parking lot in Magic Kingdom area. If you want to hear me talk about each and every file in one of the recent drops, I just released a 2-hour-long video on my YouTube channel, The Conspiracy Files, showing things that the mainstream media will not show you. which include things like redacted CSAM images that were all throughout the files, images of potential evidence like broken glasses, eerie things that I found like smiling babies pictured in the sun, and so much more.
Now, the connection to Disney goes far deeper. If you notice, I reported in the last video about the CEO who owns a gaming company. This game they have Call of I think is it Call of Duty? I can't remember if it's Call of Duty, but Candy Crush. Talking to Epstein, all types of exchanges with that. You have to go back and look at my last video that I posted to get that information. But listen to this. This describes these people that worship Moloch, the god of child sacrifice, and sacrifice children, how that Walt Disney Corporation has anything to do with medical and British science publication. They hired Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's father, as the editor. Now, remember also that Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's father, well, guess what? Owned McGraw-Hill, which published the majority of our school books, even growing up and to this day. So you see the indoctrination, and I showed you in the last video as well, how Lifetouch, which pretty much does all of the school pictures from even when I was younger up through now, and how that is tied to Epstein. Again, that's in the last video. I'm not going to rehash it here, but take a listen to this.
These are people that worship Moloch and sacrifice children. I can't sugarcoat that. Okay, how is it possible that Walt Disney Corporation has anything to do with biomedical and scientific British publication? And here's how that interlinks. It's just crazy. After World War II, Charles Darwin's grandson and Fleming, the guy who discovered penicillin, they went to the British government and they said, hey, we think you need to improve biomedical and scientific publishing house. And so they said, no problem. They combined these two publishing houses. And guess who they put in as the editor? This is where we start getting into the Disney realm. Okay, they hired as the editor of this Robert Maxwell. Now, Robert Maxwell has nothing to do with medical education, right, or scientific publication. But it turns out that the owner of the largest scientific publishing house in England, all during the war and before and after, it was the intelligence services, owned their publishing. So now they hire Robert Maxwell, who was a proven and admitted a spy for the British during World War II, but he was also a Mossad agent because he's buried on the Mount of Olives. Who's Robert Maxwell? He's Ghislaine Maxwell's dad. Okay, Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, the Disney Corporation, it turns out, his son is named Robert Maxwell Iger because he was a best buddy of Robert Maxwell. And then you have the whole issue of Ghislaine Maxwell with Jeffrey Epstein and the whole pedophile problem. It turns out the Disney Corporation has cruise ships that would go and do diving things off St. James or the neighboring island. It's all big one incestuous thing, but one of the things that flows through everything, it shows the pedophile connection to all of this. So who they are people that have big enough money for universal censorship, big enough money to come after, doctors all over the world, take over the system to come after us all over the world. And they're connected heavily by funding from pedophilia. And the even more evil thing that they don't talk about is body parts. Is the number one money in the world is selling body parts.
Bob Iger, did you see that? There was a lot of information to take in. But look at this. Look at this. Disney cruise ship. Look. They tried to debunk this, but no, people have been getting this information, pulling out old cruise manifests. It won't show as big on here. But it says afterwards, because this is one of the stops they would make. Afterwards, it's bigger over here, sorry. Make your way to your second snorkel stop, Little St. James Island. That is Epstein's literal island.
What?
Do you see how we haven't even cracked the surface on any of this?
That's wild.
Now I want to show you this in full.
I'm
going to show you this
so
full
much
segment.
more.
I'm going to try to make it bigger. But this is a full 2001 VH1 segment glorifying Jeffrey Epstein while showing Epstein's allegiance with Bill Clinton and Kevin Spacey. Is that not wild? Is that not wild? They did a full glowing thing. We're going to watch the whole thing in a few seconds. Now, before we play that, I want to just tell you about how you can support the work that we have going on here. Going over to
Yeah,
my
yeah.
merch store, design,
Nice
all the
merch.
designs. These are custom designs over at realmelanieking.com. As you guys know, there's a lot of censorship, demonetization. I had a video earlier that they struck and took down.
There you go. We gotta move forward.
Influencing the youth as well. This is how sick these people are. And it was right under our noses the whole time. But yet, there's no one to arrest, nothing to see here, folks. Are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding? Like, this is outrageous on every level with everything that's been exposed. Guys, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell. I will continue to bring you updates, dig through so much. There is so much to get through. We haven't even begun to scratch the surface. So, like I said, make sure you keep checking back and make sure you hit with the notification bell that you get all, because again, they are trying to suppress me putting out a lot of this information. And especially, I think, because I'm tying it to some deeper things that are going on and not just the surface level that the media wants to put out there. But
it goes deep. It goes real, real deep. And I know I've been suppressed. I know my channel's suppressed. I get hundreds and hundreds of views on my Pokemon, but once my show goes live, no, they don't push me on the algorithm. So it's like I just do what I have to do. I just keep doing it, keep pushing. It still gets recorded. It still gets put into the ether, and like it or not, here I come. You can't stop. Yep. So let's go ahead and go to the last two like the last two videos of the night. Let me see. Yep, the last two videos of the night. So apps registered for Tyson De La Cruz. So let's set it up, and we're gonna watch back to back on Tyson.
The Department of Homeland Security confirmed Beshikayev came to the U.S. by using the Biden administration's CBP-1 app.
America, a 30-year-old illegal immigrant from Kazakhstan just killed 4 members of an Amish family in India.
One truck on State Road 67 slowed down. The truck behind him did not, instead swerved into oncoming traffic.
And here's what every single legitimate truck driver knows. You never swerve on an oncoming traffic if you can't stop on time. You ditch your truck to the right. First thing you learn day 1 of CDL school. But this driver is from Kazakhstan. Either he never learned it or he didn't care.
Another illegal immigrant truck driver accused in a deadly crash in Indiana. It killed 4 people. The driver reportedly entered the United States under President Biden using the CBP-1 app and released on parole.
And while the media tries to spin this as just another tragic accident, let me show you the systematic failures that put this killer behind the wheel. What is up, guys? Tyson De La Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Unfortunately, this is super tragic. 4 innocent Amish people are dead because Biden's open border policy and Pennsylvania's sanctuary state corruption created a pipeline from Kazakhstan to American highways. Let me explain what happened on State Road 67 in Jay County, Indiana, because the way this crash occurred tells you everything you need to know about this driver's training or lack thereof. Tuesday afternoon around 4 p.m., a semi-truck was traveling eastbound on State Road 67. Traffic ahead started slowing down. The truck in front of this driver slowed down, and instead of doing what every trained truck driver would do, brake hard, ditch to the right if necessary, this driver made a dumb decision. He made the dumbest decision you can make behind the wheel of a big. He swerved into the westbound lane and hit a van head on. 4 people died instantly. The driver of the van is in critical condition, fighting for his life. And the semi-driver, he walked away without any serious injuries because physics don't care about justice. 80,000 pounds always wins against the passenger van.
The Jay County Coroner's Office has identified the victims of the crash as Henry Eicher, Menno Eicher, Paul Eicher, and Simon Gerard.
The victims were members of Indiana's Amish community, people who lived with values, lived with hard work, minded their business, and contributed to their community. And now they're dead because a foreign national who shouldn't have been in this country made a decision that no trained American truck driver would have ever made. Here's what I need you guys to understand. Apparently in CDL school, they drill this into your head from day one. And obviously this is basic traffic knowledge here. If you can't stop on time, you go to the shoulder. It's common sense. You don't drive into oncoming traffic. You sacrifice your own equipment, your own safety before you ever cross on the oncoming traffic. Why? Because a head-on collision, this is common sense, with an 80,000-pound semi is a death sentence to anybody in a passenger vehicle. This isn't advanced training here. This isn't rocket science. This is basic courtesy driving. This isn't some obscure rule. This is fundamental. And this driver either never learned it, or he panicked and forgot, or he simply didn't care. Either way, 4 people are dead. Now, let me show you exactly how this killer got into the United States and behind a wheel of a commercial truck, because this is a systematic failure at every level of government. Biaks Bashak, I believe that's how you pronounce it, is the driver's name, a 30-year-old from Kazakhstan, former Soviet Republic of Central Asia bordering China. In 2023, just 14 months ago, he used Biden's CBP-1 app to enter the United States. The CB-1 app is Biden's legal pathway for migrants to schedule appointments at the border. You download the app on your phone, schedule an appointment, show up at the border, and you get paroled into the country. No visa, no background checks, just an app and a promise to show up to court date that might be years down the road. That app has since transitioned to the CB Home app.
That 30-year-old driver, that migrant, is now in ICE custody, and the White House is saying that this all should have been avoided. They are pointing the finger at Biden-era border policies, also the state of Pennsylvania for issuing that driver a commercial driver's license.
Biden's DHS designed the CBP-1 app. The sanctuary states like Pennsylvania chose to give CDLs to people who entered illegally. This isn't a failure. This is a system working exactly as it was designed under the Biden administration. Biden wanted more migrants in the country, so he created the app and let them schedule appointments and get paroled in. Pennsylvania wanted to virtue signal about welcoming immigrants, so they gave CDLs to anyone with the pulse, regardless of legal status. And now 4 Amish people are dead.
There are similar ones that are happening across the country. Deadly truck accidents involving illegal immigrant drivers have popped up in Florida, California, and Oregon, among other states.
This is a pattern, and every single one of these crashes has the same elements. Illegal immigrant enters under Biden's policies. Sanctuary states give them the CDL. American citizens die. Now let me explain Pennsylvania's role in this particular disaster, because Governor Josh Shapiro is trying to deflect the blame while the state literally handed this killer the keys to an 80,000-pound weapon. Bashak was issued a commercial driver's license by the state of Pennsylvania, not a regular driver's license, a CDL that allows you to operate commercial vehicles across state lines. And Pennsylvania gave it to him absolutely knowing that he entered the country illegally via the CBP-1 app.
DHS turned the criticism in the Indiana case to Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro because Bishakiv got a CDL in the Keystone State. Governor Shapiro responded, Kristi Noem should focus on minding shop in her own agency, as her incompetence and operational failures seem to be matching the scale of her moral failures.
Bissett got his CDL license in Pennsylvania, and Shapiro's response attacked DHS Secretary Kristi Noem personally. Notice what Shapiro didn't do here. He didn't explain why Pennsylvania gave CDLs to somebody who entered the country illegally in the first place. He didn't apologize to the families of the 4 dead Amish victims. He didn't announce any policy changes to prevent this from happening again. He just attacked Kristi Noem and tried to change the subject. But here's what Shapiro can't escape. Pennsylvania chose to be a sanctuary state. Pennsylvania chose to give CDLs to illegal immigrants. And Pennsylvania chose to prioritize virtue signaling over public safety. Now, 4 people are dead, and Shapiro wants to blame everybody else except his own failed policies.
Related to the Indiana crash and the driver who got a CDL in Pennsylvania, Governor Josh Shapiro issued a statement to Fox News saying Bezkan Bishakiv had legal status when he got his license and is still legal on the database. Quote,
Shapiro now claims Bissek had legal status when he got his license and still legal in the database, but parole my friends, is not a legal status. Being paroled in this country via the CBP-1 app doesn't make you a legal resident. It means you're temporarily allowed to stay here while you're waiting for an immigration hearing that could possibly be years away. And during that time, Pennsylvania gave him a CDL with zero verification of his training, background, or ability of safety operations of a commercial vehicle. Now, let me introduce you to somebody who understands this disaster better than everybody else.
Marcus Coleman's daughter, Delilah, she suffered a traumatic brain injury after their car was hit by a truck that was had a migrant behind the wheel.
She was hit by a truck driven by an illegal immigrant from India who entered the United States illegally and got a commercial driver's license while he was still a teenager.
He believes, Marcus does, that this system is failing and it cost his daughter her chance at the American dream.
She's going to be on therapies for the rest of her life. She's going to be on medication the rest of her life. And we've pretty much come to the terms that she's not going to be self-sufficient. She's going to basically have to have a guardian and pretty much a chaperone and caretaker with her pretty much everywhere she goes.
A 5-year-old girl will spend the rest of her life needing constant care because an illegal immigrant teenager got a CDL and crashed into their family's vehicle.
You know, we get all these people that are out there with these banners and these jumping in front of traffic and trying to wrestle people because, you know, the illegal immigrants, they want to sit there and fight for them. Everybody's worried about saving the immigrants and working for the immigrants and trying to protect the immigrants. Who's protecting us?
That's the question. Who's protecting American citizens? Who's protecting Amish families driving down Indiana roads? Who's protecting 5-year-old girls in their parents' car? Because it's sure as hell not Josh Shapiro. I'm sure it wasn't Joe Biden. And I'm sure it's not the sanctuary policies and politicians that keep giving CDLs to people who shouldn't be in this country. Now, let me show you what happens when somebody in power actually decides to do something about this disaster.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is threatening to pull federal funding to some states over CDLs for non-citizens. Now, the Trump administration has also said that it is currently auditing the legitimacy of licenses that have already been issued in some of these states.
The Federal Transportation Department recently removed almost 2,000 drivers determined to be unqualified for roads. Kudos to that. About 500, get this, 500 of those truckers were found not to have the necessary English skills to read road signs or communicate with law enforcement. Think about that. 500 truckers on American roads who can't read English, can't read road signs, can't understand basic traffic warnings, can't communicate with police during traffic stops. And sanctuary states gave them CDLs anyways because they care more about virtue signaling than public safety.
Zach Halen, he leads the Truck Safety Coalition. He says that anyone with a CDL needs the training and skills required to be able to operate an 80,000-pound truck. He also adds the drivers, they don't need to be fluent in English, but they need to be able to understand and read road signs and to be able to communicate with police as well, Ken.
That's not asking that much. That is the bare minimum, the bottom bar for operating an 80,000-pound vehicle on public roads. But sanctuary states like Pennsylvania care more about bare bottom of the rung minimums. They care about processing as many CDL applications as possible to show how welcoming they are to immigrants. And when American citizens die as a result, they blame everybody else except themselves. America, 4 members of an Amish family are dead because of a 30-year-old illegal immigrant from Kazakhstan using Biden's CBP-1 app to enter the country, got paroled with zero vetting, and Pennsylvania gave him a commercial license to operate an 80,000-pound weapon on American roads. This is the same pattern. Illegal immigrants entered under Biden's policies. Sanctuary states give them CDLs, and American citizens die. Marcus Coleman's 5-year-old daughter will never be self-sufficient because an illegal immigrant teenager crashed into their family vehicle. The Trump administration is fighting back, removing 2,000 unqualified drivers, auditing existing licenses, threatening to cut federal funding from sanctuary states, but the damage is already done. Until states like Pennsylvania stop prioritizing illegal immigrants over American citizens, this unfortunately will keep happening. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah, we need more of these young college, young guys, young fit guys to apply to become truck drivers. You know, they could be doing that and they make pretty good money. You know, and if you're young and you're a very good driver. If you could take the reins and drive an 18-wheeler and be able to pass the test and get everything going, it's a very well-paying job. Like, I known truck drivers before. My aunt's husband was a truck driver, and boy, he used to make a lot of money doing it. So I know they're paying now, and especially now that they're like running short on individuals because a lot of individuals they're kicking them fuck out of here. So there you have a great opportunity to get a great job. I mean, listen, they pay over $25-$30 an hour and even more. So, and it comes with benefits and stuff. So, I mean, if you're looking for a job and if you can pass the test and get all your CDLs and get all your trucking schooling done and become a truck driver and get paid well, you know, if you have the time, if you got the physicalness to do it and you got the mindset to do it, then do it. It's fun. You make it your own world. You have fun on the road because it's your road. It's the way how you want it to be. If you have a nice little back room where the bed and stuff, oh man, you know, you can set it up. I've seen a lot of rigs. They put like televisions and they have their little game system, and they be playing their game system, and they're big time gamers. The truckers are really big time gamers, and they have nice little setups. So you know, you make it your home, and you make the money. You know, and you be successful, build or buy a house, and you know, start a life. The truck drivers, I respect them. I do. The legal ones, the illegal ones, is you gotta be careful with because they'll run your ass off the road. They did to me here up in Connecticut. Motherfucker ran me off the road. I was like, what the fuck? I got pissed, but I had to get off on the exit because if not, I would have called 911 on him because he ran me off the road. He ran me off my lane, and I had to switch lanes because he didn't like really check on me there. So, and he was swerving back and forth, so I felt like he was drunk. Either he was drunk or he was trying to tie his shoes. You tell me. Because he was just all over the fucking road. But anyhow, let's go to the last video of the night. That is for Tyson De La Cruz. So let's go ahead and watch.
We'll draw down 700 people affected today.
It's thanks to efforts by local law enforcement, Homan says, who agreed to cooperate and turn over arrested immigrants.
America, Minnesota just became the first state to force a federal retreat in the Trump deportation surge because they lost so badly that even liberals are turning on Timmy Tampon Walz.
On Wednesday, he announced that 700 agents would be leaving Minnesota effective immediately, and that is thanks, he says, to an unprecedented number of counties now communicating with immigration officials.
Local law enforcement that Walz told to stand down, they're now turning over arrested illegals to federal agents.
Rapunzel, throw down your support for your voting base. On. You have a lot of lights on.
Let me show you how Minnesota became the blueprint for what happens when woke governors lose control.
It's crazy.
What is up, guys? Tyson De La Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Minnesota just proved that sanctuary city policies collapse the moment federal pressure meets local reality. Let me explain what's really happening with this 700 agent withdrawal, because the media is directly trying to spin this as the Trump administration backing down. Homan is pulling out agents because Minnesota counties surrendered.
2,000 officers will stay in the state, but they're working on a path for a total withdrawal.
Notice, obviously, what they're not telling you. 2,000 agents are still in Minnesota. That's still 25 times more than the normal 80 agents who cover immigration in the Twin Cities. I think personally there was a lot of pressure on the administration, specifically after the 2 shootings. The mission here was getting local law enforcement to honor immigration detainers and cooperate with federal agents. For years, Timmy Tampon Walz told Minnesota counties to ignore ICE. He created sanctuary policies that protected criminal illegals. He positioned himself as a resistance to Trump's deportation agenda. And this is where we see these protests. This is where we see the resistance, not only from the Timmy Tampon Walz administration, but from the people on the ground. The libs.
According to the White House, more than 4,000 people have now been apprehended since Operation Metro Surge began. The announcement calls them, quote, dangerous criminal aliens. But Holman says of the 4,000 arrested, around 270 are actually considered worst of the worst, with convictions for things like homicide, sex crimes, and assault.
But here's what broke Timmy Tampon Walz's. U.S. citizens got killed during ICE operations. Alex Preddy and Renee Good both shot during confrontations with federal agents. And instead of that creating more resistance, it created fear. Counties realized that Walz's sanctuary policies were bringing heat that they actually couldn't handle. Local sheriffs started quietly operating because they didn't want their jurisdiction to become the next war zone.
As back in Minneapolis, Holman says the ultimate goal is a complete drawdown of federal presence, but the agency is not there yet.
This is not about ICE doing normal ICE stuff. The objection is to ICE pulling people off the street indiscriminately.
2,000 agents stay until new behavior becomes actually permanent. This is how you break down sanctuary city policies. You don't allow too much negotiation. You don't compromise. You flood the zone with federal agents, arrest thousands of illegals, including hundreds of violent criminals, and force local government to choose between continued chaos or cooperation without invoking the Insurrection Act. Minnesota chose cooperation. Walz lost. Now, let me show you the legal humiliation that preceded this particular surrender. Because Timmy Tampon Walz tried to stop Operation Metro Surge through the courts, he filed a lawsuit claiming the federal government was violating Minnesota's sovereignty under the 10th Amendment. And a federal judge just destroyed that argument.
This comes as the judge denied the state's request to immediately halt Operation Metro Surge. And our So Young Kim joining us now with a look at this case. And So Young, the judge says the state has not met the legal burden on 10th Amendment grounds.
Catherine Menendez denied the preliminary injunction. She said Minnesota failed to meet legal burden to prove the federal government was violating state sovereignty. But here's the part that should embarrass Timmy Tampon Walz. The judge acknowledged that both sides have evidence supporting their arguments. But Minnesota's case was so weak, she couldn't justify stopping federal operation.
Because there is evidence supporting both sides' arguments as to motivation and the relative merits of each side's competing positions are unclear, the court is reluctant to find that the likelihood of success factor weighs sufficiently in favor of granting a preliminary injunction.
Translation, Walz's lawsuit was so bad that even a judge who acknowledged profound and heartbreaking consequences from the ICE surge still couldn't justify stopping it. That is a legal massacre.
Plaintiffs have made a strong showing that Operation Metro Surge has had and will likely continue to have profound and even heartbreaking consequences on the state of Minnesota, the Twin Cities, and Minnesotans.
But watch how the judge frames this. She said the surge has profound and heartbreaking consequences for Minnesota, not for American citizens, not for crime victims, for the state of Minnesota, meaning the government and the illegal immigration population that Walz is protecting. The judge never mentions American citizens who were victims of crimes committed by the 270 worst of the worst criminals ICE arrested. She doesn't talk about the communities terrorized by illegal immigrant gang members. She focuses on heartbreaking consequences for the people being deported. Even with that sympathetic framing, she still ruled against Walz because federal immigration enforcement is constitutionally protecting and states don't get to nullify federal law just because they don't like it. Walz knew this. His attorney general, Keith Ellison, knew this. They filed the lawsuit anyways as political theater, and it backfired spectacularly. Now, let me show you what happens when Walz's rhetoric creates real-world consequences. He was filing lawsuits and giving speeches about protecting immigrants. A Minnesota activist named Kyle Wagner was posting on social media calling for the murder of federal law enforcement officers.
This is when masked federal agents with long guns make their way up to the third floor of this Minneapolis complex.
Police with the warrant.
Yeah, with the whistle.
Come to the door.
Minutes later, they take him away in handcuffs.
And what was he wearing when he got arrested? A sweater that says, "I am Antifa," short for anti-fascist, because nothing says fighting fascism like calling for the murder of law enforcement officers, right?
37-year-old Kyle Wagner, a Minnesota activist, is now charged with threatening to assault and kill ICE agents.
Listen to what this guy posted. No, not talking about peaceful protests anymore. We're not talking about having polite conversations anymore.
He called for the murder of federal law enforcement officers. He encouraged bloodshed in the streets of Minnesota. He is a domestic terrorist and he will be held accountable.
But here's what the media won't tell you about this guy. This guy didn't come up with his rhetoric in a vacuum. He's been radicalized by the same politicians who spent years, weeks, months telling Minnesota residents that ICE agents are the enemy. Walsh created an environment where activists believe violence against federal agents was justified resistance. And when somebody actually acted on the rhetoric, Walsh stayed silent. Neighbors complained the federal response was too aggressive. One said, "You think you live in the land of the free," and it turns out you live in a land where masked gunmen, get this, break into your building. But Mr. Kyle Wagner was charged in Michigan because that's where he was doxing a pro-ICE individual, meaning he published somebody's personal information to encourage attacks against them. This is what happens when governors prioritize illegal immigrants over law enforcement. Kyle, this guy, this Antifa guy, thought he was a hero. He thought he was part of some type of resistance. And now he's facing federal charges for threatening to kill ICE agents. Good. We need to see more of this. Now, here's where the story gets absolutely delicious. After Walsh created this disaster, after 2 citizens got killed, after an activist threatened to murder ICE agents, after a federal judge destroyed his lawsuits, after counties started cooperating with ICE, get this, his own liberal base turned on him.
Rapunzel, throw down your support for your voting base. On.
You have a lot of lights on. Dinner's got to be done by now. We haven't heard from you in a very long time.
Listen to that. Rapunzel, throw down your support for your voting base. Come on. They're mocking him. The libs are mocking him. His own supporters are standing outside his mansion, calling him a fairy tale princess hiding in a tower. They're demanding he come out and face them. They're accusing him of abandoning the people who elected him. That escalated quickly. And you know what? They're right. Walsh created this mess with the sanctuary city policies. He told Minnesota counties not to cooperate with ICE. He filed a lawsuit and he knew that it was going to fail. He gave speeches about protecting immigrants while American citizens were getting hurt and killed. And then when consequences arrives, he hides in his mansion.
Is this the best result that Governor Tim Walz and other elected officials could come up with after meetings behind closed doors with Tom Homan? Shame!
The protesters are furious that Walz had a closed-door meeting with Tom Homan. They see it as betrayal. They thought Timmy Tampon Walz would fight to the end to protect illegal immigrants. Instead, he negotiated a surrender that allowed Homan to declare victory and pull out 700 agents while keeping 2,000 in place. This is the problem with woke politics. You can't govern based on virtue signaling. Eventually, reality arrives.
700, they need them in other
you either adopt or you get destroyed. Walsh tried to adopt by quietly cooperating with
for other areas.
His base crucified him for it. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. That's the way these liberals work.
Really should have been involved from the beginning, man.
Liberals absolutely insane because it perfectly illustrates why Walsh's sanctuary city policies were always doomed to fail. ICE agents detained a 5-year-old child named Liam Ramos, and the story that the media is telling you is obviously completely fiction.
Tonight, a 5-year-old child detained by ICE in Columbia Heights is back home.
Liam Ramos landed at MSP Airport with his father earlier today. This after a judge ordered their release from a Texas detention center. A school official says Liam was taken from his driveway after agents used the little boy as bait to lure the rest of his family out of the home. But
The media says ICE used the little boy as bait to lure the rest of his family home. That's the narrative here. Evil ICE agents target innocent children. But here's what actually happened. ICE showed up to arrest the father. The father ran like a coward and abandoned his 5-year-old son in the driveway.
DHS says Ramos's father abandoned him by running away from agents. According to Ramos's school, he is one of several students who have been detained recently.
The media frames this as ICE's fault. The school official says Liam is one of several students who have been detained recently, as if ICE is randomly snatching up kids off the playgrounds. No, ICE is arresting the parents who are in the country illegally. And if those parents run away and abandon their children rather than facing deportation, what are they supposed to do? They got to protect the kid.
Attorneys representing the Ramos family say they are in the country legally from Ecuador as they pursue asylum claims, adding they have shown up for all of their court hearings and were held on civil immigration violations.
Now the attorneys are claiming the family is in this country legally from Ecuador as they pursue asylum claims. This is my question. If you're here legally, why did the father run from ICE? Why did he abandon his son like a coward? Why were they detained on civil immigration violation? Because pursuing asylum claims doesn't mean you're here legally. I just want to get that straight. It means you crossed the border illegally, claimed asylum, and you're waiting for a court date that might be years away. During that time, you're living in a sanctuary city like Minneapolis, where governors like Tim Walz told you ICE can't touch you. That was all fine and dandy until Greg Bovino showed up with 3,000 agents and proved that was a lie. America, Minnesota just became a cautionary tale for every sanctuary city in America. Tim Walz spent years building policies that protected illegal immigrants over American citizens. He told counties not to cooperate with ICE. He positioned himself as the resistance to Trump's deportation agenda. All that collapsed in 3 weeks. The Trump administration flooded Minnesota with 3,000 agents. They arrested over 4,000 people, including 270 violent criminals. 2 U.S. citizens got killed during the operation. An activist threatened to murder ICE agents and got arrested. A federal judge destroyed Walz's lawsuit. Counties started honoring immigration detainers, and Walz's own liberal base turned on him, protesting outside his mansion and demanding he face them. Now, Tom Homan is pulling out 700 agents, not because they lost, but because Minnesota surrendered. Counties are cooperating. Local law enforcement is turning over arrested illegals. The mission is succeeding. This is what happens when you govern off of virtue signaling instead of reality. When you protect illegal immigrants forever, eventually federal law wins. And when it does, you either adapt or you get destroyed. Walz tried to adapt, and his own base abandoned him. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.
Great upload there. I mean, hey, a deal's a deal. 700 less agents on the field over there in Minnesota. You can take those 700, put them in different areas across the country that needs the assistance, and continue on with the mission, because this mission is a very big mission. I think this is just the beginning. There's a lot of millions of people they still need to go after, and they're going to do as much as they can. And the thing is that it's easier for you to self-deport now and just get that check and be off on an airplane, take you back to your country, right? Than to have the government arrest you, put you through all this crazy shit, fingerprint you, put you in a jail cell. Like, it's just for what? Like, just get your ass on a plane and go back home. Take that $1,000. Shit, that's a good start. Get yourself started. Rent yourself an apartment and stuff. Get yourself a job and, live your life in your country. All right? Okay. And if you want to come back to the United States, come here the right way. That's all. Yeah. A lot of people have done it the right way, and they're here and they live here, and they did it the right way. It cost them some money, but they did it the right way. That's a big difference. The one that just ran through the border and just didn't stop, and a lot of dangerous people came through here too. And I'm very concerned about the World Cup. I'm very, very concerned about the Olympics, but I'm very concerned about the World Cup because I just feel something like that's gonna happen, and I just don't want people to get hurt. You know, it's just they're here. These terroristic people, they're here in our country, and they've been planning for this for a long time. And the fact that they have 4 years to get everything through the border into our country, it's it just downfunds me. It's unbelievable. But I always tell people, stay away from these big venues, stay away from any concerts, stay away from any large groups, period. And try to live your life to the fullest, but then also pay attention to your life to the fullest, because there's opportunistics out there, and they're even grabbing old grannies that can't self-defense or anything and threatening to kill them, and they're holding her hostage. So that's the type of night we're having here. So hopefully they find this lady and Nancy, and we'll have a more positive story. But if not, it's going to be dreadful, and it's going to be like a lot of questions, especially about that camera, the Ring camera, the Nest camera that was recording. They do have sound on it, so they should put out the sound. And plus, there's other cameras within the home. But the thing is, like, she didn't have a subscription to it, so how was it recording? And how, like, do they continue to stay recording even you don't have a subscription? Or you had a subscription before and it lapsed, or they just keep the camera going, but then you don't pay? Like, I don't get it. I'm kind of confused with that. But with that said, we'll have an update tomorrow. So have a good morning, good afternoon, and a good night. And I'll catch y'all on the flip side. I'll be back on here. I want to see if I can do the 6:30 things, like 6:30, 6:45 thing. Hopefully get myself situated and get this done, because I like leaving early. Like 10 o'clock is a great time to finish. You guys have a good night, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.